gonna start doing tests here. Okay, I think we're live. All right. So I think we're going. Let me double check. Testes. Okay, chats up. And we are in pre-show mode. This is what you call pre-show homosexual. I hope you hear this. Just fuck it. I wonder if I can broadcast that. If I make my box really small. No, that's not the right box, though. What about this box? Okay, hold on. I'm playing around with stuff and just, like... Permit me! Permit me the right. Okay, so then we're going to do window capture. And what if I shrink this box down? Yeah! Oh. This is how the pros do it, I think. Okay. So I'm just going to dick around here for a while. We're going to see if it loads at all. You're about to watch a fat man who hasn't played with a keyboard and mouse in a long time play with a keyboard and mouse. And I might just leave randomly and go get a drink before this all starts. In fact, I should. Especially if nobody's watching right now. Just watch this instead. Try to put those off camera. Okay, I'm going to try to put those off camera, and I'm going to see if I can do this. Like all those cute gamer girls. How do I walk? Haven't done this on keyboard. What? Okay.
Lizard tail, pepper, star conch. What else do I need to create the most dreadfully disgusting cocktail?
Click it with your
opinion,
mouse.
it's clear that I can't claim. Truth be told,
Seems like he's a
Yeah, it sure seems that way.
we can't let him.
Oh, and here's a good question. How do I switch who I want to talk to? Oh, snap.
You must also be here. Tejima, keeping out the treasure. But now
Okay.
we will go.
I'm just trying to move quests along.
You must be Tejima.
Me? True. And what made me
Okay,
I
so
don't
we're
have
doing
answers
a
to those
standard
questions,
story
because
quest.
I can't remember in the past.
Okay. Well, in
Your
that
penis is gone.
if you can't. Oh, maybe if you.
Oh, that
I keep.
Oh, yes,
Oh man,
yes,
you kept a diary?
So if we want.
if you don't
Jeez.
mind.
Plus I can't read chat this way. Whoa. That shouldn't have happened. Whoa, that was crazy. Yeah, I can't do this. I don't have the I don't have the mental fortitude for this one. You got me again, keyboard warriors. You beat me. Now you can condense those. Yep, we know that. Complete wishes to unlock. Oh, I got a couple of quests here. Complete wishes. The fuck are they talking about? What in the shit are they talking about? There ain't a quest called wishes. They crazy. Alright, I'm gonna save up. I've done all the damage I can here. Let's say I can just do this. Wonder who's watching this and is like, alright, this is great. Hope it's just me. Hope it's just me monitoring my own stream. Just killing time with my dipshit Genshin impact bullshit. I'm gonna shoot random arrows at the crowd. Like, forever. Interesting. Better try something here. This is called falling off an edge with grace. Woo!
Who's that skulking around?
So there's supposed to be a guy down here. He's just not here. See? So, fuck it. Gambling. Gambling. Gambling alert. Piss on these. Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and exit. So I really should be getting ready. I don't know. I wonder if there's a program I can get to draw live. Because that would really illustrate. Haha, I'm clever. What is going on here? Take this. Whoop. Resize it. Because I'm the only one who wants to appear on screen on the free. So, meh. Fuck it. Is Don drinking live? Is he drinking an alcoholic beverage? Irish Dan. Aye. I'd be like Steve Hofstetter then. Yeah, so I guess if I'm going to start warming this up proper, what I'm kind of looking for here is a way to draw while we're doing this. And I'm wondering, because if I can do this, I just have to measure the size of my drawing. So I'm going to try to zoom this out, and we're going to see if we can't find Microsoft Paint. Oh, ooh. Microsoft Paint will work, by the way. It might be small today. We just want the box here. Oh, ooh, motherfucker. Did that work? Because that works. Hold on. Let me see something here. Where is my cursor space, roughly? So I'm going to draw this. There's the top corner. It goes down to about right where? No, it's more... Oh, we found the line. We got a nice little box to work in. All right. And as you can see, I have motor control function issues, apparently. And so that box was about right. Well, if I go off of this, hold on. That's something like, you can't kind of see it up in the corner. It's a little bit out of bounds there because, again, I'm twitchy. I don't have very good motor control. I don't know why. I'm not drinking. I'm sober. I just have bad motor control. Like, I can't. I'm too nervous, I suppose. Nervous boy. And let's go ahead and write free. This is the hardest I've ever tried to write. Free. Will. I'm also doing this at an angle, and I have, pretty severe scoliosis. I've always been a nervous child, right? That's a stupid name. Hold on. I should have named it this.
You're a stupid name.
Shh. Yeah, you. You know what? We're live. I don't want a repeat of the chat. I'm going to tell you right now. I was a liberal yelling at a victim. No. Bad. There's your meeting with HR. Consider yourself met with. Free
Listen,
Willy. There we go.
I'll start pulling out cards.
Go ahead and pull out cards because that's the one card.
I got identity cards somewhere in here.
Yeah, but you know what? Unless you got that specific one, it's not even going to begin to challenge it, my friend. So don't even try, lib.
What's up? How you doing? We're live, right?
Yeah, we're live. I'm trying to draw.
Draw? Pictures?
Yeah. One of my favorites. One of my famous Dan Cohen shit drawings.
You're trying to draw like you're thinking?
Yeah. They're awful but overly explanatory.
I love them.
Yeah.
They're the best way to explain things. And by that I mean they are a way to explain things.
I was genuinely hoping that was unironic. Oh yeah, I'm licking my finger and cleaning my
No,
screen.
they're surprisingly helpful normally.
Well, then you should. You know what you should do? You should open up a second tab somewhere else and watch the show while we do this, so you can see what I'm drawing.
Oh, that would probably be wise, huh?
Yeah. In this one time, it would be helpful to watch the show. Unless I can share my paint. Can I share paint? I wonder if I can, because if I can share that... Oh, I kind of can, but I have to actually be in the Discord chat. It's the weirdest thing. What if I'm actively moving my mouse on it like this? Woo! Nope, nothing. Discord, you're lacking. I'm going to stop that because it's not really helping. Oh, I'm going to draw live.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Oh,
I can see a Twitch.
yeah.
Oh, fuck. Free will again. God damn it. And it's back.
Yeah. That's my... Well, this is the topic that has me most over the fence. The hell is it? Earth could be alien to humans by 2050. Yeah, this is a stupid... This is a dumb fucking news story from the Daily Mail. Earth could be alien to humans by 2050. Motherfucker, if I went back in time 500 years, it would be alien to me. Like, that's such a non-statement. Okay, so I can draw. I have a very limited box, but I can draw. Limited box. The dirty jokes...
That is what she said.
That is what she said. The dirty jokes don't stop.
Don't stop till you get enough.
Yeah, we're going to share this. No, this is the thing that vexes me the most, so it makes the most sense that we would go ahead and address it again. What? No, I want to comment. I want to share the post so I can put it on my own Facebook. You should make a fake show Facebook just to post things on and then totally ignore.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love totally ignoring Facebook. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah, right? That's a pretty good racket. No, and I'm getting into the weird stuff tonight, too. This is like... We're getting into the weird problems. I don't know if we... Like, I was going to call it free will, rights, and consent, because they're all... Like, there's clearly a through line for these concepts. But then I was like, you know, in an hour, you're probably not going to be done with a monad. You're going to be lucky if you get to 2 people, let alone 1. You know what I mean? Let alone to the complexities of negotiation and, like, communication. So, like... Don't promise more. If you get there, great. But if you didn't promise it, you haven't screwed anybody. Yo.
Oh shit, what up?
Oh shit, what up?
Yeah, what's up, man? What's good? And Twitter keeps giving me notifications.
Out on tweaking out on art right now. Got a airbrush for my birthday tomorrow.
Cool.
Sweet.
So just been playing around with that.
That's badass. I'm currently taking on art right now as well.
Nice.
Yeah. You know what you should do? You should go to the Facebook page or the YouTube or the Twitch and just look at the video right now real quick. Look at that. Look at what the audience is getting live.
Oh, it is it could loosely be described as art.
It's not art, it is a drawing.
I said
it gives
loosely.
me everything. It gives me everything except Sons of Trier.
What does?
Freaking YouTube.
Really? Do you want the link?
No, you just have to type it in and go directly to it. Oh, I see. Free will.
Yeah, we're doing that again.
more free will?
Yes.
I didn't know it gets freer.
It
Or
doesn't.
more Willy.
It
Well, if we paid more for it, it'd be more free.
yeah. It gets complex.
That's not how
Paradoxically.
freedom works.
It's not how. Well, I mean, there goes Dan drinking on camera again. How's that sound? Does that sound like an Irish actor?
Not really, no.
Not really. Not that
Dan
one.
is drinking on camera again. Yeah. No, that does.
Again?
Dan is drinking on camera again. Again. There we go.
Going for the... I was about to say going for the Connery.
I'm not going. Oh, how's he sound? Fuck, it's been so long since I heard Sean Connery's voice. All I can think of is SNL Sean Connery, which isn't right.
Oh, I watched some movies, so I think of like League of Extraordinary
Wow.
Gentlemen.
Yes. That would be more like here.
There it is.
Yes. No, I'm not going for Connery. I'm going for something more like Liam Neeson or Liam Cunningham.
Ooh, the Liam Neesons.
Yes,
This
one of
is-
the Liams.
The Lumminghams.
Yes. Oh, I can try to. I'm trying to do that bit. How I'm trying to learn it is from Solar Opposites when Liam Cunningham is doing the pupa. I want the Harry Potter whistle, Lorraine.
Oh, the pupa's awesome.
Yeah, pupa rocks. Go into the cabinet, Lorraine. Grab the Harry Potter whistle. I can give you anything you want, Lorraine. All has been taken from you due to time, but I can yield it back unto you. But I ask for something in return. I want the Harry Potter whistle. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm close. I can feel it. I think it's about how I'm contorting my face and my neck, so I have to be like, Lorraine. 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 Oh, this camera really makes it look like I just have no teeth, and it kind of rocks.
So what is it about free will that's grinding your gears this time?
I don't know. We're gonna go over it. It's
Is
gonna
it
be
how
dry as
free
fuck.
it is?
No. It's about how erratic a concept it is when you start boiling it down.
That's why they like it. They can use it to say anything.
Well, they might like it for that, but I don't. I'm specifically to know the answer to that question, and you don't turn to the dictionary to look at a word, and the word, the definition is like, I don't know, man. It's kind of this, but not. It's not why you turn to the dictionary. So, like,
It's a very loose concept.
yeah, that's the problem. It's a very loose concept, so we're gonna have to start pinning that motherfucker down. The Bigfoot pictures either have to stop being blurry and be Bigfoot or not be Bigfoot, but they have to stop being blurry. So we have to have an answer to that question.
What was it? I
sufficient
read
one.
the other day that the number of Bigfoot and Loch Ness monster sightings has statistically gone significantly down with the introduction of everyone carrying a fucking high-powered camera on them in the form of a cell phone. Weird how that works, right?
Yeah, that's very weird. But like that's part of the
I don't know about you, but I need about 350.
Do you need about tree fitty?
It was at that time that I realized that Gangsta Cleaves was actually a 350-foot tall monster from the Paleosaurus. It was about that time. I said, Loch Ness Monster, I didn't invite you on this episode. You got to get out of here.
Damn it, monster.
Damn it,
Leave my
Loch Ness.
communism alone.
Damn it, Loch Ness Monster. You ain't no goddamn communist. You just remember you supported the monarchy. Now you get out of here.
Hey, we can overthrow
Yeah.
the bourgeoisie. Just give me 350 first. 350.
Tree fitty and I'll overthrow the
Two
bourgeoisie.
each according to their tree fitty.
Yeah.
From each according to their
Well,
350 to
You see, what
each
had happened
according-
was I had entered a time machine, and I was talking with Mr. Karl Marx, and I was talking with Mr. Friedrich Engels, and I was talking to both of them. They was telling me about how the bourgeoisie masters and how they steal the surplus value from the workers, and that it transforms into time. So I don't know what any of that fucking shit is. Anyway, they was waiting to tell me about the bourgeoisie masters, and they said the only way to overthrow it is for the proletariat to overthrow their chains. And I said, really? All they had to do was over there to change. They said, yeah, we can teach you how if you just give us tree fitty. I said, tree fitty. And it was about that time I realized Mr. Karl Marx and Mr. Friedrich Engels was actually a 350-foot tall, 350-ton creature from the Plesiosaurus era. And I said, damn it, Loch Ness Monster. You're not reading the Communist Revolution. Get out of here.
God damn it, Loch Ness Monster.
I got to learn that bit. I'm trying to do that from memory. I don't remember it. Somebody's just posting webcamhd.xyz. Hey, I'm waiting you on 18 plus stream. You're waiting me on 18 plus stream? Excuse me, pervert. You should be waiting on me on 18 plus streams. A little more wordy, but then I know that you're not just going to give me shoddy second-rate pornography that's all assholes.
Oh, they never deliver.
They never deliver.
They just tease.
Every time I click for the single MILFs in my area, and every time I get butthole porn.
I love single MILFs in my area. Why must you withhold my single MILFs?
Yeah. Yeah, what's the deal with that? Webcam-hd.xyz. Waited on me. No single MILFs? Bullshit.
What's the point that there's no single MILFs?
I'll warn you, tonight's going to be so fucking dry, Ben Shapiro will be envious.
Oh, I'll just see my way out.
Butthole porn filmed on a Game Boy camera. Yeah, that's about it. Welcome, comrades. It's been a while. Damn Yankees were on. You watch. Chat's going to be like, no, but for real, though, they were. You got to watch.
Them Yanks.
Damn Yanks. Goddamn Yankees. You all also see me change my chewing tobacco.
That's also pornographic.
You think so? The Yankees?
No, there's a site called Yanks.
That's just about beating it.
Crank Yankers, I've
Yeah,
seen
it's a solo
Yankers.
girl.
Yeah. For the record, I chew. But not like, chew. So
Yoinks.
you'll see me do
yoinks. We should make a forward site Yoinks.
that. Yoinks. Yoinkers making the Gwade.
Gway.
It's just Looney Tune theme porn. Aaron Boone will be back next season. Crime, frankly. Hello, Conrad. It's good to be back. Yeah, it's good to have you back. Chat's been boring without you. Zero engagement. Everybody's too afraid that I'm going to go in a 7-minute spiel about a Jim Henson sex machine. I think that's one of the ones you missed, so you got to go dig through that. Hours of content to find it. Ha ha ha! I should clip that for YouTube.
Yay, crim it.
I really should clip that one for YouTube. That was kind of my magnum opus of jokes.
Oh, man.
I quit stand-up a long time ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
Or did it evolve?
Did it evolve? No, it devolved.
It devolved. It devolved into dry ass theory.
It devolved. It twofold. It devolved into dry ass theory, and it also devolved into doing this shit on the radio like shock jocks.
Rush Limbaugh.
Well, folks, the problem is that the lesbians are coming with their pink pistols to take away your anally supposited Vicodin. And they're coming for you.
I thought the problem was the blacks, Rush.
Yeah, well, they're them too. They're gonna fight the lesbians for the Vicodin.
The problem is everyone but him.
Yeah. Everyone but the salt of the earth. Fat white men, age 50, heteronormative, who make $500,000 or more a year, screaming into a microphone about the Jews.
And
Who
now
America
we have
was
to.
for?
Now we have words from our sponsor, Sugar Pills.
Yeah.
Sugar Pills. They'll cure you of everything.
I hate college for a mile, trying to slow down your economy. It's with the same sense of humor. Oh, cool. All right, yeah, reach out. Plus, we engage heavily. Can you see this on cam? I think you can. It's showing me that you can. Heavy engagement. I'm fisting. For you who aren't watching, it's fisting. You can fist me.
Oh, I got that Spider-Man shirts.
Yeah,
good.
thank
That's
you.
a good Spider-Man shirt.
Yeah, happy early birthday.
Miles Morales.
Yeah. Actually, this is like the future Spider-Man.
Oh, okay. Got a different one then.
Yeah, this is
I got
old.
the Miles.
Miles wasn't bad. I watched that. I watched that movie. It was fine.
The Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
It's a fun little romp.
yeah. That's
I'm a fan of it.
yeah. It was. I saw the normal what you would expect to see from a black Spider-Man. I saw the reaction to that, and I was like, you people cry about everything.
That is true. They 100% do.
Jesus Christ. It was a fine movie. That could have been, I'll tell you what, that could have been written a lot worse. They could have really done like the 90s thing. Made them really street. No, it was tasteful.
Oh yeah, they learned their lesson. They learned their lesson about that. It only took 21 years.
Spider-Man
Thank God.
21 is the best Spider-Man. I need to take questions and criticism. All right, I'm not that heavily versed anymore on Spider-Man to have that fight, so okay. But yeah, no, Miles Morales was fine. That was I will say this, the reactions to him, while predictably, racist.
Anti-Semitic.
Yeah, anti-Semitic. They had a goddamn Jewish, Latino, black Spider-Man. Everything I hate.
The Jew. Somehow they blame the black person on the Jew media.
Yeah. Actually, you know what though? Dig. You'll find it. They have a thread. They have a master thread. It's all part of the Great Replacement theory.
Yeah, it'll get there.
Yeah, it gets there pretty quick.
And this episode is now demonetized.
Oh, oops. Yeah, I think the creepiest reaction I saw was the ones about Tom Holland, and they were like 50-year-old women who want to fuck like an in-character like 16-year-old boy, and I was like, I've been there. You're rapists.
That checks out.
That's a rapey thing you
No,
want to do.
no. It's different. It's a character.
Yeah.
Right? It's different. It's a drawing.
Yeah, it's a fictionalized version.
It's a fictional thing. It's not the real thing. And I know that.
It's okay that I want to talk loudly about pegging a child because it's a fictionalized child and I'm a grown woman in my 50s.
Oh, they go and ship it.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, so poor Tom Holland. That poor boy is I'd have a security detail around him anytime he goes into like a fucking Target.
When the groupies are suburban wine moms.
Yes. Just rapists.
Get away from me, Karen. No.
You keep your weird dungeon shit and you're pegging away from me, madam. I'm 16.
I am a 16-year-old celebrity.
Yes. The thing is, too, like, you used to be able to say, like, well, they can wait till you're 18, or they could say that.
Oh, they will.
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah, and, like, really, like, in context, like, you probably shouldn't. At least, though, like, I'll say that. For that group of people, at least they recognize that the law requires them to wait. And, like...
Just hanging at the doors like an angry wolf.
Yeah. Menstruating
They
on
did.
his birthday.
You know who they did the worst on that? They did Britney Spears so wrong with that.
Holy
They
shit.
did.
They had like countdown timers. They had like radio shows. They had like the whole shebang.
Yeah.
I feel like it was on a blimp at some point, just floating overhead.
That
You got 5 minutes till Britney's legal.
What do you want to do to her that when she turns 18 that you couldn't do while she was 17? Go ahead and describe what you would do to a child.
But she's not that innocent.
Well, that didn't help. I mean, let's be real. Didn't
help.
Didn't help. But you know who wrote that? An 80-year-old Jewish man.
You're sending out some confusing messages there.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you're at the time 35-year-old father and your 80-year-old Jewish manager tell you to sing. So like, creepy all around.
Where were her parents?
Well, they were trying to
bang her, right?
Yeah. I think it was Jessica Simpson's dad. It was like, my daughter has great fuckable tits. If I weren't her dad, I would be fucking her tits.
Disney stars.
Yeah. And that was another one of those, like, you really just... Some thoughts you don't have to express. Like, I can't
You
stop
could
you.
Choose not to.
could you just not?
I can't make you not have that thought. I can't force into your brain and make sure that thought never occurs or that it never travels to the part where you actually think it, you know? I can't do that, but maybe you should just, before you say things, just evaluate them just like a little bit and just be like, should I actually let that one go out into the ether and let that go out beyond my mouth and become a thought and a thing I said.
Let slip the dogs of war.
Yeah. You know. And Trump did that too. They're from that same like class of guy who is like so in love with themselves they want to fuck their kids.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's not really like an incest thing. It's like a narcissism thing, and that's the closest thing they have to a living version of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still wrong in every way, but like.
Good thing we don't have cloner, like gender bending cloning facilities.
I'm wondering if we bought Trump a sex doll of himself and he would be mad at how ugly it looks, or if he would just fuck it.
Yes.
Oh, what did he look like with the generator from those generators, the ginger?
Oh,
you know how they do the little flipper thingies?
Oh yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about on like the fucking Snapchats and TikTok.
I bet it's a horrific sight.
Oh,
you want me to put it in chat?
Yeah, let me see that.
Okay, let's see if I can find that. Oh,
Watch it just be Melania.
If you want me to be honest, this one seems like the most accurate, and it looks like Angela Merkel.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna drop that in I'm gonna drop that in the Discord. That's for everybody. Very reminiscent of Angela Merkel.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
It's an oof. It's like sweaty male Pelosi. Remember sweaty male Pelosi?
I see it. I see it. I see the Merkel.
Yeah, you see the Merkel. There's something about that. There's just a German woman face look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just a German woman.
It's got kind of. I'm getting kind of Hillary vibes too.
Close, fairly close.
I mean, they didn't change the hair. If they would have changed the hair, I could see it in little pantsuit action.
Hillary-ish.
You want to see male Hillary?
Oh yeah. Let's see that.
Oh, we're dropping this sex machine on the.
Let's see Hillary. Oh, we look like a tech billionaire. You look
yes. Yeah. See, it
look like a washed up like a startup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like they invested in the wrong company the last time, and now they're just like consulting.
I kind of screwed this one up, like I do everything.
Oh, he looked like he worked on decks.
Yeah. The face too. Too many teeth in the smile. I never trust people who put that many teeth in a smile. I don't. If you're not embarrassed by your teeth, I
David gave a beard and a little bit of gray, and a touch of gray. Oh,
mm-hmm.
You can't change those eyes though. The eyes is what. Oof. It's just it's just like there's no soul there. You just like look right through it.
You're looking at somebody who's looking at you like they need to, like they're trying to decide how to murder you.
Is this how humans smile? Is this how I gain their
They're
trust?
looking at you like you are a literal like they are a butcher eyeing up a hunk of meat.
Yeah.
Like they've already killed you. They're just trying to figure out what to do with it.
Yeah.
You can't kill it, Millery. It's a camera.
Yeah. See, that's why you got to join the Discord, because that's where we drop the jokes and the sexy pictures like girl Trump and boyery.
Oh, let's see Boy Biden. I mean,
Boy Biden.
A bit of a fuck up. Well, yeah. I wonder what that looks like.
Yeah. Come on, man. Why don't you?
I assume at that age they must be NB.
Yeah. Boy Biden, come on, get in there. Get in and fuck my pussy. Get up in there, man. Come on. Just a chick like, come on, man. Come on, man. I told you the birth control's good. I told you it's fine. This is terrible. They're trying to make everybody way too hot. This is actually really embarrassing because they're trying to make everybody way too fucking hot.
Well, they're trying to. I mean, they're doing what they do. They do that to
Well, they're
everything.
really sexing it
There-
up.
There's, they don't do that. They do that to everything.
I'd say this though: Mike Pence, perfectly fuckable woman. Perfectly fuckable woman. Look at that. I told you, too fuckable. Kamala Harris.
Yeah, he's already pretty womanly in the face there.
Yeah, it's the skeleton. It's the skin tightening from the skeleton.
Yeah, it's the skin suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean. They made him all a little too.
Hardcore fuckable.
Like Biden over here looked like a Jan, like just a regular old. You know what I mean? Like that's not.
Yeah, you know, and like if it was just 10 years earlier, you'd be like, I'd hit that.
And who the fuck is that in the top middle?
That is Melania.
That's
Oh.
Melania.
That's Melania. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see it in the eyes and the nose, but they took quite a few liberties on the edges.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
really tried to make Kamala fuckable because you can tell they were like, we gotta.
They
amp up
tried
her
real
fuckable thing.
hard. She actually looked like what's that one actor? Oh my god, she looked like just like this one actor.
Yeah, who does?
I don't know actors, but I know that she looks just like this one.
Who's this guy? That guy looks weird.
And AOC is actually hot, so they actually have to try to make her not hot to try to make it work.
Failed. That is a perfectly fuckable fella.
Yeah, that's way too.
Although you know what?
Did anybody notice?
Whoa!
Whoa.
Did anybody
Whoa!
notice? Did anybody notice Bill Maher almost get through his critique of AOC's Met Gala dress without saying the word ass, but then he still said it.
Yeah.
He was like, "And you're wearing it right on your ass." Like really, noticeably, and like everybody on his show looked at him like the disgusting
Yeah.
fucking old bastard that he is. Did anybody notice that but me? Because I noticed that.
No, I did.
I just
I'd have
real
to watch
quick.
the show.
But there was so much wrong with it that at that point I was already gone and down the hall. I was
Yeah.
just gone.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
way he said ass was really weird.
No, I'm telling you right now, that picture of AOC is a dude. You know who that is? That's the male actor in every straight bait porno. That's who that's the guy who's allegedly got suckered into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what's funny about that is Mike Pence is the woman. So I could do this, I guess. Well, this guy's prettier than her, so fuck him for a while. Fuck it. That's what that is. All right, so we're top.
That's
of the
weird.
show.
They got quite a lot of forehead in these.
They are. All right, so this is the Sons of Trier live stream. This is starring Dan Cohen, if I can write this. And I'm playing the role of the delightful scamp on our 80s sitcom tonight. And I'm joined by, what I say is Jank. I capitalize. Jank.
Is this some type of
Uger, who's
foreign-
going to
is this
talk
some
about
type of-
why rape's okay. No.
Some
we're
type of
talking about
foreign
Jank.
shit?
What's that?
Is it some type of foreign name? Some type of foreign
Yeah.
gibberish?
Angles.
Yeah, in some ways.
Well, if you're Turkish, it's not foreign, so checkmate, liberal.
Got him.
Jank
Got him.
Angles. Jank is going to be playing the role of the hot 80s mom.
Ooh, thank God. I was worried I was going to have a bad role.
Yeah, right?
So excited.
And I'm joined by Gangsta.
Khalees.
Red 5 reporting in.
Gangsta. Eat the.
It's Gangsta Claus. It's Hood Santa. That's what they call.
Oh, we got to make it Halloween this time.
Yeah, that's true. It's a Halloween
Eat
version.
the spooky.
Gangsta Lantern.
Nightmare Before Christmas is a Halloween movie and a Christmas movie.
That's we were just talking about that.
Richicles. So it's Gangsta Eat the Spooky Richicles.
There we go. Perfect.
I'm not even done writing your name out for the opening credits. And he's going to be
Good luck
playing,
finding me.
he's going to be playing the precocious, but lovable neighbor who's actually the star of the series. And finally, the true. Okay, I'm almost fast enough to do this. This is really fun, actually. Horror as Mr. Belvedere.
Mr. Belvedere.
All right.
As Southern American, not to be conflated with South American, Mr. Belvedere.
So just like a slave then.
Yeah.
Like instead of a butler, just like
I mean,
like I live in their house and like they don't pay me anything and like I'm just like full of homespun wisdom.
by the way, everybody, before I got to read the very serious message at request from one of the fans from the Communist Party USA, we're already at Hitler #1. Thank you,
Well,
True.
I'm just mad. I'm just mad about fucking somebody horning in on our bit.
Hey, you need
because
to
he
type your
couldn't-
porn message better, dude.
He couldn't
Your
think
porn
of any.
box sucks. Plus, you're saying crab squirt checkmark squirt. That's definitely a crab. You'll definitely squirt from your crab. You fucking blow at this. Jesus Christ. I could do your job better.
Oh, you talking about the robot that was in there? Yeah.
There's some, I don't know, horny robot in our chat, and I'm too fucking
That guy
lazy to
sounds
figure
like
it
he
out.
could set us up with the really hip fucking live calls or whatever he was selling though.
Hey, I'm
sounded
waiting
really
you
good.
on 18 plus stream.
Hey,
Oh,
look,
right.
It's like we made it because we're important enough to have a full
Huh?
bot.
I'm saying I'm with it.
What?
I'm with it. He could ply his trade in here, little
Can I
robot.
mute it?
They don't pay him nothing neither, you know?
Yeah.
We're all together on this. I'm sorry, I'm still thinking of Mr. Belvedere, the White Southern Slave. I'm still thinking of that series. That doesn't make any sense on any level, but it started playing in my brain as soon as you said Mr. Belvedere. I just pictured a guy in like a Tom Sawyer extra outfit, like a straw hat and like baggy overalls. And he's like,
Yeah.
he just lives there.
Yep. Hey, well, what's wrong with you, man? I told you shouldn't have done that. You done fucked up.
They're like, Mr. Southern Belvedere, get
Mr.
the right china for the fancy dinner party. And he's like, okay, and then he just fixes the lawnmower again.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the dining room. Just
Yeah, get right on that. You fucking wussy.
he's got the lawnmower disassembled on the dining room table.
All right, so I was asked to read this live, and I will. I don't even know if they're here. Whatever, fuck it. I said I would, and I will. That way, later I can go into the other stuff. So, I would ask that everybody not take this as a point of discussion because this is not our central topic for tonight. But this is a statement from the Communist Party USA. This is their statement. Twitter.com. User is Communists USA. Well, on the nose there. You could have had to punch your name, but it's my only criticism. Today, this is as of 9:05 a.m., October 11, 2021. This is going to be read without any commentary from the reader. And in the inflections, all mine, and is not indicative of their stance. I have a weird way I read things when I'm reading off a teleprompter. Today, we reiterate our respect of and support for the independent indigenous nations movements, democratic demands for complete equality, recognition of treaty rights, restitution and control over land back, resources, and capital in forms they deem appropriate. These rights are at once inalienable and part and parcel of the working class and oppressed people's battles against the fascist danger and for a new society. In fact, victory is impossible without it. And the hashtag following it is Indigenous Peoples Day. So if you're wondering what their stance is, if you're confused, I just read it. It's hard to misinterpret it unless you're being a jackass. So, with that said, let's get to the thing everybody loves, dry, boring theory.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say reparations.
No, well, I was going to say gigantic asses. But
And see now I just pictured like a the Mr. Belvedere guy being like, yeah, and everybody's like, not you.
Poorly drawn boobs or butts. You'll never know. All right, so let's get started with my problems with our conceptions of free will.
Oh boy.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. Well, you're very welcome. I told you. I said I'd read it without commentary, and that's it. That's what I did. I don't lie. I try not to lie. Very hard. You got to live honestly. Let's get to some honest living here with free will. All right, you ready? So if you're watching at home, you can see me draw this. We're going to start with a little... I'm going to make it bigger than I should, but I want you to see it. So we're going to use this.
Oh, hang on. Let me pull the...
Was Free Willy really free?
Pull the YouTube up real quick.
His name was certainly Free Willy. We're going to start with that.
Yes.
Obviously
if
not
by
a
yes
circle.
you mean no.
Well, the ocean's all fucked up. I mean, he escapes to the ocean in the end, but then, we fucked up the ocean also. So, later...
This is not a Free Willy movie review podcast, nor will it ever be.
I'm just saying, he jumps over the rocks and he's like, I'm in the ocean. And it's like, yeah,
We're talking about freedom here.
fucking you win, I guess. Enjoy the
Yeah.
ocean.
They're just going to catch him in another goddamn net.
Yeah,
This-
while you choke on microplastics and you get sucked into the fire hole that we made with, fossil fuels.
This
that
week...
one lonely polar bear on an ice cap. A single ice cap.
The polar bear's gonna, claw your eyes out after this ice cap melts.
Yeah. This is the nicest I can draw, by the way, because, again, I have some sort of severe psychological nervous disorder and my hand shakes all the time. I'm not actually drunk or high. Unless you count the copious amounts of nicotine I consume, which might reasonably be playing into my nervous disorder. Who
Are
knows?
you delirious?
Stop drawing so fast. My dumbass is taking forever to get to the YouTube.
I'm not drawing that fast. Settle down. So that singular point there that is more square than circle because I suck that badly at drawing is a monad. And a monad is a very fancy way of saying individual subject. Okay, unit one subject, that's the monad. All right? In liberalism, it takes on a bigger meaning. It is the participant in society.
It is the
in social
gonad.
contract theory. So it is the gonad. It has to go. So let's look at some problems with free will. If we start from that little circular point here, the monad, right? If we start looking at free will and start thinking about what free will is, before we ever really leave the sphere of the monad and introduce this, which is the second monad, the other subject, right? Or, if we were to look at different times, another member of society. Before we ever let them enter into the picture, we don't need them right now. But that monad here presents us with a lot of fucking complexity, right? Let's take one of the first problems
was
with free
slime.
will. Huh?
Oh, that was the slime. You should have kept the slime.
The slime?
You started to draw like a slime. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Like a Dragon Quest or like a Genshin slime.
Yeah, like a Dragon Quest slime.
Would you prefer I draw some kind of a slime? Okay, so this is the monad right about here. It's got these little eyes. This is our little friend, the monad. And our little friend, the monad, has one particular problem. Like us, it is a terrestrial creature, right? It lives on this earth. And it has a very real problem about affecting things that are physically above it, right? It has to take steps to implement its will above it. And without mechanical assistance, really only has what? Maybe like a 2-foot extra clearance, honestly. And when I say mechanical assistance, I do mean right down to climbing. Fuck, I mean right down to walking, because if you don't have any fucking legs, you ain't doing no goddamn walking anywhere, are you? Your ass is really restricted, right? So we have that first problem. What's that?
I love it. Fuck
You
that
love it?
monad.
Yeah, this is way doper, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold on, I'm live. I'm doing the show. What?
This is like those RSU anime
Oh,
videos.
shit.
RSA anime videos.
It's my old cat. I had to give him away. That poor little bastard ran away. Damn, there's a new home. Shit. All right. And you know what? To be fair, too, let's take our little monad again. Let's remove the arms for a second. Let's just examine the monad itself.
Yeah.
Pretty hard to manipulate things horizontally then, isn't it? How's your ass supposed to climb as effectively? Right? So you get limited. So,
It's got to steal legs from black people.
well, Again, we're not introducing other people yet, but that certainly is one solution, isn't it? So if we were to start graphing this, we have a problem with our monad right at that center point of that graph. We have a problem with going up and down
That's
the
a
y-axis.
literal scene in that's a literal scene in Huckleberry Finn, by the way.
Yeah.
Huck making Jim carry him around all the time and just being like, "Wow, this is so nice of Jim to just decide to carry me."
Yeah, right.
Meanwhile, he's sitting here thinking like, "Oh, if I don't come home with this little white boy, I'm fucked."
Yeah.
Fuck. The capital
all-
F.
Anywho, getting back on topic again. This is dry as fuck, people. Don't worry about punching it up. We're not punching it up tonight. Yeah. I get it. You're horny and you're posting weird fucking emojis. Shut up already.
No, the girls will do what we say though. Look, that's what
They
he
won't.
says.
Shut up. Stop. Don't engage the robot besides to mock it and berate it. Learn to spell. Here,
The
girls
robot
will
says
do
the
what you
girls have
say.
no free will.
Yeah.
Fuck you, robot.
Thanks for coming in their free will chat and saying that, you fuck.
The girls have no
Motherfucker.
free will.
That's it. You know what? God damn it. I'll show you some fucking free will right now.
Oh, they must be Epstein.
Fucking, where is that goddamn video at? Hold on. And we're broadcasting live, motherfucker. Home. 5 people chatting about the same thing. Oh yeah, who's my newest follower? Is it Sexbot? As soon as I figure out how to ban you,
The best part
Sexbot.
is, with our audience, that could be a real person or
Yeah,
a bot.
Sexbot 69 could be either one, really.
Yeah.
It's French. It's sex ball.
Yeah, I want to manage that chat. God damn it, where are you at?
They's bolt.
What the fuck? Where the fuck is it? Where the fuck are you, you little bastard? How
Oh,
the
you gotta
shit is
catch
it
that
doing?
monad. He's tricky.
Yeah, that little monad is tricky. Anywho, so our monad has a horizontal problem, right? Or excuse me, has a vertical problem. The monad also has a horizontal problem. What's the land speed of a human being? What's the per hour land speed of a human being?
I think
Averages at about
6.
14 or 15 miles an hour.
15 miles
At
an hour,
top.
right?
Top,
Circumference.
right? Can't move much faster than 14 miles an hour, most people.
Is that Usain Bolt?
Yeah.
No, Usain Bolt's like 20 something.
Oh,
Okay,
shit.
so we'll say
He's
15
a fast
miles
boy.
per hour. That's the land speed of a human being. In an hour, you'll move 15 miles. The Earth is 24,901 miles. So in the context of the monad, that planet it lives on, to walk across it, setting aside the problem of the ocean, right? Setting aside that problem for just a moment, if there were a passive land that covered the entire circumference at that peak there, right around the equator, right? It's going to take that fucking monad at 15 miles an hour, 1,660 hours to cross it. In units of 24, it would take it 69 days, which is awesome, if it just started walking and did not stop for anything, which of course the monad has problems where it needs to consume food with this little mouth hole here, right? That's where the food goes. It
And
needs to
rest.
poop. We'll make that the butthole, and it has to,
Yeah,
yeah, it has to
he's
poop.
going to need one of those.
And at some point, it's going to want to fucking sleep. It's going to want to stop. It's going to stop and eat. It's going to stop and drink. So it has a very real horizontal limitation, right? So across the X and Y axes, it has problems implementing its will.
Now he just looks like a lazy little fucker that's demanding food, just shitting and sleeping all the time.
I am not feeding that Tamagotchi.
I have never felt more connected to a monad.
Yeah.
In the future, the sex box. will
I'm gonna let
be
him
less.
die in his
Perhaps.
own kid.
Aw.
But yeah, so our little buddy here has some real fucking problems. And again, these are only compounded as you remove pieces from what you expect your stock
Compounded.
image of the monad to be. Once it starts losing arms, legs, eyes, nose, whatever, ears, God forbid, but internal organs, you get a little surgery going on here, right? The monad starts suffering real fucking problems and complications. So our singular point, in a geographic sense, has real limits to what it can accomplish and what it can do. And there are ways around it, of course, but it has then, if we started plotting these out and gave them arbitrary distances, it would basically have a sphere of influence, right? the things it can actually manipulate. Now let's take that.
Is this where it starts colonizing?
Hold on, we're not even. Again, you're like, you guys keep wanting to jump to like other people and relations. We're not even done with this thing. We're nowhere near done with this thing, right? So this little guy is somewhere here on. There's Earth and it's
bacon apple pie
wiener.
from scratch.
Right?
This is the limited number of things he can do on his turn on his character sheet. This is what he was born with.
Yeah. Well, up here.
Did
right?
he skip his draw phase?
I don't think he can yet.
He was
He
required
skipped leg day.
right here. That monad lives right about there. There's this thing floating in the sky above him every fucking night that he can't manipulate, and every day there's another thing floating in the sky that he can't
Is that a
fucking
Yoshi egg?
interact with and manipulate, right? There's
it's
sun
the
and
moon.
moon. We have the problem of other places, not just other places within our own fucking planet, which has our sphere of influence contained within the superset of shit on Earth, right? But there's other places in the universe. How does that little creature, on its own volition, manipulate somewhere else in the fucking universe? And again, we have to resort to mechanical manipulation. But even with mechanical manipulation, fuck the moon for a second, right? What about fucking Mars? What about fucking Neptune? Let's say we go extra solar system, right? We go way the fuck out here to where everything is just pinpoints of light that you can barely fucking see in the night sky. How does it reasonably manipulate those things, right? So free will has a very real distance and geographic, like it has a very real geometric issue, right?
Space time.
Yeah, and you can hear me clicking rapidly to clear all this out. This is kind of fun. I only have so much drawing space because of the way the fucking stream works, so fuck it. But that's the number one problem we have. Geometric. It's entirely geometry fucks us over. E-T-R-Y. Motherfucker, I came third in the school-wide spelling bee for a reason. Now, right, that's problem numero uno. Is geometry.
Listen,
Next,
I know where you grew up.
What's that?
I know where you grew up.
Why?
It's less impressive knowing that.
Yeah. There were 300 people, and I took third. That's still good. In a Magic tournament, you'd be like, fuck yeah, 300 people. I took third. Fuck them. Fuck them. They're fucking shit. I rock. So I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, not everyone was participating in that tournament.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter. Still got the award, sir. Number 3. Behind the Chinese girl and the whitest kid you'll ever know. And he's on heroin now. So in the end, number 3 is number 1. You know what I'm saying? So,
Fair point.
fuck that
What
kid.
about the Chinese girl?
The Chinese girl? I don't know. She's a doctor, but she also posts like anti-vaxxer shit. Yeah. So again, number 3.
Number 3, looking pretty good.
Yeah, looking better by the minute.
Yeah. So
Wait, an anti-vax doctor? Oh god.
don't think too hard about it because it bleeds. The brain can bleed, sir. The brain can bleed. All right. So again, number 1 problem is geometry. Number 2, let's start picking apart this little fella's brain, right?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You're giving it a brain now.
I'm gonna try to draw a brain that doesn't just look like a lobster rack of libs, and boy, I am failing. Blah, blah, yeah, I'm failing on every account. I was the number 1 speech maker too. That's because my speaking style was described as being very Hitler-esque for the masses, and I was like, that's the most insulting thing you can tell a Jew. But you guys haven't heard me make a proper speech either, so. And impromptu speaking is a talent of mine. Yeah, I'm not very good at drawing the brain, right? So for the sake of argument, brain.
A couple lobes and a hippocampus.
Yeah, I'm not good
It's
at that.
done.
I could try again. Let's try it from the side, right? Let's try not to make it look like a liver. Nope, failed. All right. Anywho, brain. Right? So the
He's killing it.
Thank you. So anyway, the creature's brain itself could be argued that the brain itself could be argued that, of course, that it could be violating free will or not, right? Because we take our little brain here that now definitely looks like a fucking liver or pancreas. let's assume that this stuff right here that I'm sectioning off and kind of making it look like a weird peepee or a spotted dick or a mushroom from Mario, right? If that shit is all entirely damaged, at what point do we say that that creature still has free will, or that the actual mental damage, not beyond illness, I mean damage, has impeded the creature's ability to have free will, right? So we have to contemplate that pretty severely.
You mean a normal PP?
Yeah.
You said a weird PP. That looks like a normal PP.
Okay, again,
Yeah.
no bits. I'm not doing bits. I'm not running bits here, guys. For once, I'm serious. But if we take the brain itself as a damaged organ, we can make credible claims because of the effects that has on the individual, right? We can manipulate personality that way. We can actually induce psychoses that way. That brain damage actually affects our ability to make decisions, and that at that point, the damaged organ influences our free will as much as a healthy one would, right? Now, if we take a step back and move away from physical damage, right? Let's take purely psychic damage. Trauma. Everybody's favorite fucking word.
Who gets
Hell,
to
no
say
time
what's
to talk.
damaged or not?
What?
Who gets to say what's damaged or not?
For the purposes of this, damage is going to anything that
And
results
who's to
in
say
brain
that it's not all damage?
What's
I mean,
that?
you're talking trauma. Everybody's fucking traumatized.
Well,
Yeah,
again,
if you
America.
find me one person who's not traumatized, I'll show you a liar.
again,
Well, the rate's like 4%.
again,
Are liars.
I'm making two separate distinct points. Damage refers to actual physical tissue death. Trauma refers to real but psychic damage. Okay? I'm using that as a very clear distinction as to what I'm talking about. So if you were to get into a car accident, not suffer any brain damage, right, or any brain
A
damage
mild
that would result,
concussion.
yeah, anything that would not result in any kind of brain death that would not result in a change in personality, a change in memory, etc. Right? You walk away from it relatively fine, but you are now afraid to drive in the car because of the very real threat of a car accident that you've experienced, the outcome where that occurs. Right? That would be trauma. Where the brain is damaged and you suffer the fear, right? That would be trauma plus damage. That would be the equation. That would be T plus D for this purpose. But in cases where the brain simply suffers damage and it causes a change of personality, but the evidence of trauma is not apparent, that would just be simple damage, right? So brain death versus traumatic experience, which again, we're going to call both negative outcomes, obviously. We wouldn't want, outside of Nazis, you wouldn't want them suffering this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a Nazi, you're not too worried about their brains get damaged. Like that's from the meth anyway, whatever. They
Now
kinda
we
block
Hitlered
that.
the Hitler.
When they do their little fight club rituals with each other, or like smash their skull because white people don't bruise or some dumb shit they come up with, right?
So obviously, like as far as mental trauma, like the car accident example guy is going to have trouble operating an automobile, but like, what about is there a value here for the background radiation of just being in certain societies? Like
Again, you're
just
introducing
that
other people.
steady.
You're getting ahead of yourself. We
Okay, so
haven't
that's
even
off the
explored
table.
all the problems, the free will that can come from the body the subject has.
He doesn't even live anywhere yet.
No, our little monad does not have any friends yet.
Okay.
Yeah, PTSD does
Or
damage to the brain,
anything
but not in the
to
same way as
access
blunt force
any
trauma.
existence
Yeah.
beyond himself.
Thank you, chat. That's my exact point, right? We have two types of problems. We have what we can call psychic damage and we can call physical damage to the brain, and both have outcomes that we, again, Nazis aside, do not want. I don't know. I don't know how I put this nicely. I don't really necessarily want that to happen to Nazis, but when it happens, I'm not like, I just keep eating my sandwich. I'm not really like,
Or are you gonna list all the organs and the parts and say that all the free will and all of it?
I think I summarily covered that when I talked about the missing limbs and the surgeries that cause missing organs or damage to cause missing organs. All those things modify the subject. I think I covered that in the physical meat. Now we're talking about the brain. Why?
Oh no, I was just wondering.
Yeah,
I was wondering where you're going with this.
Where am I going with this? Well, I think
Yeah.
I'm coming up with credible objections to our current conception of free will, which is defined in the Constitution as endowed by one's creator and heavily implied to be Yahweh, the Christian God.
Oh, so the vagina makes you so you can't have free will, right?
No, that's not the objection. Again, you've just introduced another person. What I'm asking you to do is stop thinking about other people and start thinking of things on you that could limit your free will, right? So the brain
Lack
itself.
of fingers, no fingers,
Yeah,
no
again,
manipulators.
loss of limb, loss of organs, damaged organs, psychic damage. These are all things that will very much influence your decision making and may manipulate the concept of what we would call free will, because had those damages not been there, you might have made different decisions. You certainly would have been in your wheelhouse. No, Ulk is here. Free will is stored in the balls. I'm a firm believer in blunt force trauma of an unknown kind of nonsense. That's just me. I agree. Again, not if it happens, that sandwich keeps getting eaten. I don't really stop. So,
Yeah, I'm not
no,
fixing to
all
put my
kinds of
sandwich
shit.
down and go running outside and
Free
try to
will is
convince
stored in the
everybody that we
balls.
can't, do them like that or whatever. I'm gonna finish the sandwich.
Yeah, is it stored in the balls though? Because the problem is, what if you don't have balls? That's the question posed. What if you don't have the balls? Do you have no more free will?
There was that one post that
Hmm.
pretty much confirmed that white civilization and Western civilization was stored in the balls.
Yeah.
But that guy deleted the post, so even my old quote tweet of it is worth nothing now.
That's sad. All right.
He did.
So that's just
Pussy.
so again, geometric problems. We have substantive, frankly, biological and medical problems with the notion of free will, right? If you follow the libs have done studies to try to figure out at what point free will exercises itself, if there is free will. And those studies show that we make, this is the one that person was obsessed with, right? That we make decisions very, very quickly, right? Like, let's say somebody asks you and come up and say, hey, will you give me a hand with that? Your body already starts motion towards doing that thing or not doing that thing before you formulate the verbal answer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the problem is there is a split second where your brain actually reasons out whether or not it's willing to do the thing. So if you were to talk about a medical thing, right, a medical thing for free will, it's in that moment. So in a physical sense, the conception of free will exists, but there are a lot of qualifiers on that, aren't there? Right? Because again, if it's killed a spider and I have a fear of spiders and I decide not to do the thing because I'm afraid of the spider, it doesn't matter that there's that physical window and it doesn't matter that there's that physical reaction. The problem is then, can you say that's actually free will? Because all those things, based on the parameters of the situation, prevent the agreement, right? And I hate to add other people right here, but, I told you, I warned, this is the theory night. I'm not making the jokes tonight. This is real. This is a real impediment whether or not people want to acknowledge it.
I'm with Eat, right? So let's hypothetically say we acknowledge all of this beyond the shadow of a doubt as an entire society.
Mm-hmm.
What is the benefit?
What is it? Well, I don't know yet. We're not done.
Okay.
I mean,
I
if you were
like this
like
one.
if you were the guy who found penicillin, right? When he let that
Right.
fruit mold, if you were to ask then what is the benefit to society of letting that fruit mold, his answer would probably be, I don't fucking know, man. I'm trying to find out. So, don't demand answers until we're ready. Again, dry. This is real proper. This is the closest to real proper theory work as I can do on the show without showing you me ranting and raving and writing things down and scratching things out and actually doing the thing like I normally would.
Here.
I will say
As
though,
if you aren't scratching things out.
I
Well-
will say though, referring to another diagram that we had used at one point of monads trying to accomplish stuff
Yeah.
with any kind of free will, I will say that if you're a very, very specific, terrible kind of person like myself, you may find the outcome and the implications of some of this hysterical. You may find it actually quite funny when you walk around in your life after thinking about this kind of stuff and see people, using their free or whatever they think they're doing. You may find this hysterical at that point, though it may seem dry at the moment. I promise. Like if you're watching this on the replay and you're thinking this is actually really heavy, yeah, the diagrams will get you. Motherfucker will get you with the diagrams. You'll be walking around for days looking at assholes. Like, I'm not shitting.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I wouldn't be laughing right now. I'm dead serious. The final problem we have is chronological, at least as near as I can figure, right? The next one is duration problem, X, Y, and Z axes. So we have the monad in its younger state. We have the monad in its older state, right? And that can be the space of a few seconds, a few years, a few decades, literally beginning to end of life, right? Can the monad make a decision here that could theoretically affect the free will of this monad, right? Even though they're the same monad, over duration, they are different, right? We wouldn't call baby Hitler Hitler. The name doesn't carry the same weight. Baby Hitler was just the name assigned to the hospital, ultimately. He didn't do those things, but I'll tell you what, he made some fucking decisions as he started getting bigger that really affected a hell of a lot of people, right? and this is where the fun of the would you kill Hitler if you had a time machine and kill him as a baby, right? Would you do it? And in that particular situation, the answer is obviously you could totally take his ass. He's a fucking baby. You could totally fucking whoop the shit out of a fucking baby. All you gotta do is sucker punch him when it's fucking just mom's watching him and dad's off at the fucking coal mines drinking and bitching about Jews. Like, totally get that kid. But in a very real sense, right? Can a decision made in childhood affect the free will of the former? And in physics, theoretically, this is also possible, right? And I didn't put my arrow in the right spot, so now you can see it a little better. There we go. Right? Can a decision made by this monad impede the free will and objective goals of this monad? And I think that answer is actually painfully obvious. The answer is yes. Right? Yeah. Even if they're stupid goals as a child, we would, like, I want to be the first guy in space. Well, it's fucking 1984. That's impossible. But even if they're dumb fucking goals, can these monads, which are the same fucking monad intrinsically, we would identify them as the same person. They would identify as the same person across space and time. Can the decisions of one influence the decision of the other in such a way that you violate one's free will? And not with a time machine toy. I mean, over the very long process of human history, right? What we define as history, that chronological march forward to measure duration.
Just endlessly stacked generations of the adult version of someone failing to live out the will of the child, which would, for all we know, was more valid and more correct. Just stacked generations of that, just piling up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Can the monadic subject itself, can the individual subject, our monad, can it violate its own free will? Now we start playing around with the examples, right? Because again, obviously in the geometric problem, I can't fly without machine assistance. So the act of flying, right? The act of flying with machine assistance, is that my free will exercised to a reasonable capacity? Is my free will still violated and I am simply emulating something close to free will? Or is my free will totally violated? It's irrelevant that I had mechanical assistance because I couldn't do it on my own accord, right? Or is that a sufficient expression of free will such that we would say free will is not violated, right? If the monad seeks to dig, right? The monad seeks to dig, but the armless monad cannot dig as well, but can still dig with the foot, right? Has the monad's free will been violated, or is there, or is the free will in the situation, is the expression of free will sufficient enough? I want to dig, ergo, that's good enough, right? Are we okay with just making that known that that is our will? Or is it the execution of will? Is it the thought, or is it the action, right?
And this is that space in which it's so tempting to like invent some kind of Randian spirit, right? Some kind of differentiator that's like this is the you just dig so hard with your feet that you beat the arms guy. Like isn't this that space where like a simple explanation, it's tempting to just say, oh, some kind of design for all this, right? Like
this is certainly in the space where the dipshit will go, well, if you want it hard enough, you'll do it, right? This is the space where that operates, in the belief of an absolute free will, right? There are several problems with an absolute free will. Number one, in an absolute free will scenario, there's no more credibility to say, I don't want to be raped than I want to rape you. Those are absolute equivalents because that's about making the body act.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's about who wants it more, which is fucking disgusting. So I'm just going to throw that one out right now. Wrong. Wrong fucking answer. Right? Number two, in that exact scenario, we run into a problem that we want to avoid, right? We run into the problem of, do we really want the rapist exercising their will because that's what their will is for? Is respect to free will always the answer, or reasonably always the answer, right? Because we're going to side with a rape victim or potential rape victim and say, well, I really don't want that to happen.
I suppose
So-
if you're one of these psychos that has perfect faith and like predestination designed by a divine being, you could like suffer having the worst aspects of the free will of others like used on you, and you would just, if you had
Yes.
perfect faith, you would be able to be like, oh, this is my test or whatever.
Yeah, if you really believe, paradoxically enough, if you were to believe heavy enough in physics and predestination, since the ball is rolling, everything that's going to happen is contained within the possibility of the universe, right? Or you believe in a God who supersedes free will and knows everything that's going to happen, right?
Right.
Or
If you
knows
could
every
be that zen
possibility
about
of what
it,
can
I mean,
happen.
sorry, Christians, or whatever you are.
Well, don't apologize. In
Yeah.
that absolute interpretation of non-free will, of non-random events, yeah, there is another point where we really can't condemn the rapist because the rapist was only acting on what God wanted them to do or what physics said they were going to do anyway. So again, those solutions suck. So we got to throw those out, right? We're clearly going
So
to...
we got the Ayn Rand solution of one guy's just better. We got the God solution of this is all supposed to happen, so we're going to wipe all that shit off the table so we can think clearly, yes?
Yeah, we're going to throw those out. Those are gone. Those are shit.
Yeah.
Those are shit solutions to a real problem. That our actions influence the world, right? And that's one of those... In philosophy, that's one of those lines, right? When you start
Yeah.
creating a philosophy and you start arguing about philosophy, there are certain lines, right? Is harm real? Can you harm other things? Yes or no, right? And you go, nobody
Anybody
would ever say
deserve
no.
anything?
People say
Does
no.
anyone deserve anything?
Yeah.
That's one of my faves.
Well, it's even beyond that, right?
Yeah.
It's, can you harm other people? Very simple question, but there isn't a reconcilable yes, no. And you go, again, you go, who the fuck would ever say no? People do. And if people do, you create a conflict that cannot be overcome through argumentation. Because the people who don't believe harm is possible, there's no amount of arguing to say that would be harmful. And likewise, if you believe you can harm other people, any harm qualifies. So whatever your interpretation of harm is, falls into the subset of harmful things, which falls in the superset of things that cause harm. Right?
Yeah.
So right there, impossible to divide. Here, really, purely fucking impossible. Right? You can't overcome that through argumentation. You either do or don't believe free will exists. Right? You believe in determinism, you believe in free will. And if you're a free will person, there's a whole lot of problems in there. We got to figure out what we actually mean. But we generally all agree that, on the very simple premise that agency and action have outcomes, those outcomes affect things, right?
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to. In the determinism, everything you do doesn't matter. Nothing. Anything you could possibly do doesn't matter because it was already going to happen, right? And again, you can arrive at that through a purely secular logic of simply over-applying physics and making the claim then, well, since it's in the possibility of the universe dictates, eventually speaking, in an infinite timeline, all things would happen. The fact that it happened means it was determined, right? It's just an active observation picked the outcome, which is not free will because it's not coming from the agents, it's coming from the observer.
Yeah.
And if it's coming from the observer, that means at best their free will is the motivating force, but they're not willing it into being of their own volition. They're just happening to observe the thing that's happening.
They're watching the very, very late effects of the Big Bang. Just watching them. Just particles still a-rolling.
The Big Bang.
I feel like, the
Hold
little
on.
monad, he's pretty fucked. Like, he does probably think, once he gets to the point where he, knows other monads, is in a society and shit. He probably thinks that he has a lot of free will over shit, but it just doesn't look like it.
Giovanni, to answer chat question, predeterminism in my scenario is the observer, and determinism is the simple physics of motion or God, right? Slight difference. Now, it can, comically enough, then if you believe God is real, right, it's not hard to imagine that by God watching as the ultimate observer, that's what makes it possible, in which case you actually have a weird belief in determinism, but what you really mean is predeterminism.
Yeah.
So observation produces it, or motion produces it, right? Random accidents cause outcomes. Excuse me. The observer observing random acts is predeterminism. That it is going to happen and things are playing out according to that script in sequential order is determinism. Right? And in either scenario, free will can't exist, because if there's already a script, then you're obviously not making your own decisions. If it's predeterminism, things are haphazardly happening, and as we observe them, we determine what they are. We didn't influence what they were, right? We cause the quarks to behave the way they were going to behave. But that means the quarks didn't have any, fucking agency, and neither do you. You're merely a third-party observer with no control over the events and outcomes. If you were to interject in that, and there was another observer, we would be back at the same problem, because your interjection is determinism, and the observer watching you is a predeterminist. The predeterministic observer.
It's hard to even write your way out of it, even if you're like trying to be creative or whatever. Like, there's a couple of decent sci-fi stories where a mind becomes conscious that it's locked in some kind of loop, but generally the author doesn't get real ambitious. Generally, he just leaves them sentenced to the hell of being perceptive of that and unable to do anything. Like, it's hard to even think of how you would break out of something like that. Like, even if you were aware of it, like, what are you going to do that you didn't always do?
Yeah. And by the way, chat, excellent question. You can keep them coming. I'll do my best, right? Sometimes it takes me a minute to think about how to turn this shit.
Yeah, we fucks with chat. Go ham.
But yeah. No, we definitely fucks with chat, and chat's being very well behaved. And honestly, again, you joke at the beginning, but is free will stored in the balls is a very valid question. No more or less valid, frankly, than is it stored in the brain.
Yeah, the shit we referenced, the guy wrote a whole thing about how large dicks were an expression of like moving away from the balls, and like the balls like in the small dick was somehow central to like, it was incredible. Like he was really I mean, you know what he was doing.
Yeah.
But your example is, it's fucking legit. I mean, like...
Well, again, these are things to be considered. Like I said, we have geometric problems to free will. And machines overcome some of that, right? They extend what I call our sphere of influence. I follow that line of thought that we have a sphere of influence around us. Brain rot.
Levers that you can pull, and what you wanted to happen is absolutely going to happen.
Well, again, if I believe in free will, if I use that term, as is happening to me right now. God damn it. If you believe in free will, which I would loosely say I do with a lot of caveats because there's a lot of fucking problems, as I'm demonstrating.
One of those poisoned terms that people are going to ram in your face thinking that they're way better than this monad.
Well, the problem is it can't have a divine origin because, of course, again, what's the problem with the divine origin? There's zero evidence and it's a 50-50 shot. We're firing
and it's just
it's
an escape hatch from the uncomfortable region that we were in before, as we covered, right? It's just an escape hatch.
Right, we're just guessing. If we introduce a divine element as a possibility, we're just guessing anyway. That means...
I thought it was just justifying ideology.
Well...
Yeah.
You could very well be justifying your own bullshit, or you're guessing. And guessing is an insufficient answer here, right? So laying the question of divinity off the table, because again, with zero evidence for or against, there's no definitive proof there's no God, but there's also no definitive proof there is. So we have a problem that when they play the little 4-square 25% game, you're actually looking at just a 50-50 blind chance. The most perfect fucking probability you can get, which means fuck all can happen. Who knows? Fuck it. It's not worth asking then. We already know there's 50% of people say yes, 50% of people say no, and we know there's a 50-50 shot that it's real or it isn't. It's fucking useless. So we're going to move beyond divinity as a solution, right?
Yeah.
So again, we have X, Y, and Z geometric problems with our poor little monad. Then we, of course, have the body with organs and the body with impeded organs, missing or impeded. And they can affect those decisions. And again, we'll play some little thought games. You know, if you were 6 years old and really, really wanted to grow up and be the snake guy in the zoo. You want to be the reptile guy in the zoo, right? You want to play with snakes all day. That's what you imagine as. I'm going to feed the snakes. I'm going to clean the snakes. I'm going to take care of the snakes. That's what I want to do with my life. Very noble goal. Somebody needs to take care of those snakes.
Yeah, there's only so many gifted herpetologists that like really give a shit and are good at it.
Right. And you want to do it, so presumably you will provide far better care than somebody who's doing it because they needed a fucking job working in that reptile house, right?
Yeah.
Then, at age 10, you are bitten by a copperhead. Nearly die. Copperhead's a type of poisonous snake, if you didn't know. But you nearly die, right? And they have to give you anti-venom. You're in the
consider
hospital.
being a better herpetologist in the future.
What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should consider being a better herpetologist if you almost die.
Well, again, you're 10 years old.
Yeah.
You're 10.
Yeah, your
This is a 10-year-old child.
behavioral knowledge was lacking for at least a second.
Who's to say
Your
you were
behavioral
fucking around with the
knowledge
snakes
failed you.
arbitrarily? Copperhead can just come up and bite your ass while you're walking in the woods. You stumble into its fucking house. Bam.
Yeah, that's
There's
true.
the bite. You nearly die from it. You live, but you have the traumatic experience. You have the psychic damage, the memory of the accident, right? Then it fucking happens again. At age 15. Same thing. Fucking around in the woods. Now you're bit by the snake again. All right, another copperhead. Same fucking problem. You got to go back to the hospital, get the anti-venom. You're all fucked up. You get better. Now we're 18 and we're going to college. What decisions are we making informed by our past experiences? What has the individual self, by merely existing and having probability occur to us, what are the impacts on our decision making? Right? And what traits did we already have in ourselves that determine those? Right? Because if I'm brave, maybe I degaffed about getting bit by the snakes. I just know it's a possibility. I've been bitten twice. I know it can happen. I don't care. Or, yeah, fuck that, man. I'm going to go be an accountant or some shit. Right?
Yeah.
That's just as likely a possibility.
Yeah.
But does that situation overall, does that violate the free will of the child who was dead set on becoming the snake guy, the reptile guy at the zoo? Does that
I feel like the answer is no.
You feel like the answer is no. Why?
Giving you my gut reaction. I haven't analyzed it at all.
Okay. But the answer
There
could
is
very
still-
well be yes, couldn't it?
There is still an option for Schrodinger's, herpetologist there.
Well, sure.
And as you discussed before, in some alternate universe, both occur, right?
Right, but if there's alternate universes where both could occur, do you have free will? Do you have the ability to say yes or no in your universe, right? There's a problem.
In a universe where the crocodile hunter becomes an accountant or a car salesman, no one has any free will.
You think so?
When I flip a coin,
I feel like, yeah.
the
Well,
act
why
of revealing it-
though? Then how can you say there's free will in this universe where the opposite decision is made? Because if both decisions are going to be made, right? If the multiverse theory is resolvable in that manner of resolution at the micro level, kind of has to be. It's in a macro sense. Then we're talking determinism because all possibilities were contained with all possible universes. We fall back into the religious objection. So
it really makes you want to pull the ripcord.
Change the percentages.
What's that?
The act of observation doesn't change the percentages, right? It's still 50-50. It doesn't matter.
Right, it's still
Whenever you
50-50.
flip a coin, it doesn't matter if the other you had the observable head and you had the observable tails. Like, the odds are still 50-50, and those odds didn't change regardless of whether or not the observation is made. And similarly, your free will is not negated by the act of you observing it. You have still made a choice.
But
Now,
if
once
that binary
choice is made,
exists-
you are past that point. Yeah.
Over
You can no
multiple
longer
universes.
undo it.
At the macro level again, at the level of divinity, if both choices were going to be made, one's going to say yes, one's going to say no, we run into predeterminism.
Yeah.
Because all observable possibilities contained with all possible universes. If we let that be the solution, we're done here. There is no free will. It's all fucking stupid. You should go out and rape and slaughter, right?
It
And that's
really
an
makes you wanna-
unacceptable solution to the problem.
Yep. It really makes
I
you
also
want to
just
pull the
don't think it's
ripcord.
correct.
Yeah. So we can't. So simply put, we can't let that be the solution to the problem that we arrive at. So you can say, well, you're tainting your own philosophy then. But My counterpoint to that is, number one, I don't think that's the answer anyway, right? Because the problem there is more akin to what Jenk said, right? If I'm only in this universe, the actions I take are only contained within this universe, so whatever happens at the macro level is irrelevant to me. I'll probably never experience it anyway. So the information I'm making the decision based on is not the macro hypothetical, but the very much micro material real. That's my problem, right?
You might want to control your quality of life in your own universe by cherry picking your decisions somehow.
Plus, if the event is really 50-50 across an infinite number of universes, the statistic doesn't change. The percentage doesn't change. All of us could uniformly commit to the same decision.
Yeah.
And even though you could then object, well, if you all make the same decision because the possibility of the other decision was there, no free will, sorry, bitch, observation.
Yeah.
That implies an observer, right? And if you simply don't believe in some sort of macro observation, just a series of micro observations across multiple problems, you still run into the determinism problem, don't you? Because one observer isn't as relevant as compared to many, right?
Yeah.
So, tripped up again. Let's
really
go back.
Just starting to seem like this little slime's concept of free will is just a little life preserver that he wove together out of like maybe it matters what I do as he's adrift in this vast surrounding of that it doesn't, which is when you think about it, it's pretty crazy.
Right.
I'm giving him some points there.
Yeah, that's the nihilist or the capitalist realist answer, right? What I do really doesn't fucking matter anyway. So my thoughts are inhibited. But if you believe that, don't eat. Try not eating for a while. See what your body does. See if your own body thinks the decision to not eat matters. Don't sleep for a while. See if there's any negative ramifications from it. See if it fucks with your body. See if you like what happens. Just do a free will ironically. Yeah, basically, right? It's a flippant answer, but that's a far better answer. Because again, if you really have free will, and I'm not encouraging you to do this in real life because I know what the outcome will be regardless of whatever dumb simulation theory bullshit you might say.
Yeah, or if that's a fad
Zip
at some
up
point,
without looking down.
Not eating is the new cool thing or whatever. Yeah. We're not endorsing that if that happens.
No, I'm not endorsing any of this. Because imagine that you step on a nail, right? You stop looking down at the ground. You start walking through construction sites barefoot. One day, you step on a fucking nail. You had every ability to look down.
It.
What's that?
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Bam. You step on a nail. Right? Right up through your fucking foot. All the way through. You can see the point. Blood's everywhere. It fucking hurts. Could you have taken steps to avoid that fucking outcome? Could you? You made the decision to walk around construction sites.
Not at the point you're at.
Not at the point you're at, no. But there were a whole hell of a lot of decisions that it doesn't matter if they're observed or not that would prevent that from fucking happening, wouldn't it? I could not walk around construction sites barefoot. That's a whole set of decisions that would lead me to not having that happen.
You could just not walk around construction sites.
You could just not walk around construction sites when you're walking around barefoot. You can just not walk around barefoot. Then perhaps the nail doesn't go through your foot, right? It goes through your shoe, maybe it pokes you, but it doesn't go through your foot. You can take steps to mitigate the outcome. So across all possible universes, right? Doesn't matter if one of me is a complete fucking moron who walks around construction sites and steps on nails and rams nails through my feet and goes, oh, I guess there was nothing I could do. Because apparently there was a whole hell of a lot I could do. I cannot do that, right? And you can say the binary consumerist decision, which I normally loathe, but here I think is quite apt, right? The utilitarian thinking. Let's say in one universe I buy Coke and in another universe I buy Pepsi. Across multiple universes, is the monad's free will violated just because some chose Coke and some chose Pepsi? Well, the fact of the matter is I like both Coke and Pepsi, so the decision itself that I'm making, right, beyond the monad, but the decision is entirely arbitrary. It's all fucking sugar water. So it doesn't matter, right? And that tells us something else about this situation. That tells us something we didn't firmly know walking into, or at least provided proof. Some things can be designated as arbitrary, and some things can be designated as meaningful. Whatever those two terms mean, we know there's a distinct difference. Decisions that matter and decisions that don't. We tend to assume the decision to become the snake handler or become the accountant is a meaningful decision. That's going to change the quality of your life substantially. But the difference between Coke and Pepsi is so small as to be arbitrary. It has no meaningful distinction on the rest of your life. More than likely, one of those will not engender you winning some sort of Coke or Pepsi-based lottery wherein making the wrong choice costs you a shit ton of money, right? And I'll be real brutal. If you did not know that lottery existed, then it really didn't fucking matter that the lottery exists. You had to know about it first for that to be a meaningful outcome.
Yeah.
If you didn't know about it, it means fuck all. Nothing was going to change. There's no hypothetical loss. There's no real substantive gain to be had.
We don't know that the crocodile hunter might have been such a better ass accountant than he was a crocodile hunter.
No, we won't. We don't live in that universe, right? The material
Fuck,
universe
man.
we live in, he took a stingray to the chest and bam, got his ass.
Yeah, that was pretty epic. But
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, fuck, man. And what if, like, as good as he was at hunting crocodile, if he was actually should have been a car salesman?
Maybe.
He'd have been a great car salesman.
It could have been that energy, that upbeat energy, has to count for something. People like upbeat people. But yeah, there's that's the kind of shit I've been dwelling on before we even move into shit like other people, right? What impact do other people have on us?
You know what
okay.
would be a hell of a trick? You know, you'd be a hell of an alchemist of sorts if you could take an arbitrary decision like the choice between Coke and Pepsi, and you could change it in people's minds into a meaningful decision.
Well,
You'd be a hell of a useful guy around these parts, wouldn't you?
That's called advertising, my friend. To make the arbitrary non-arbitrary. To load it with emotion.
That'd be a handy guy to have in like real late ass capitalism.
Yeah.
To circle back to what was being talked about earlier today,
Mm-hmm.
if anyone's interested, I'm now selling these sugar pills.
Yes.
Just pre-fitty.
350 sugar pills. All right.
Should literally print tree fitty sugar pills on like a bottle, just Chinese dropship it to just wherever as merch. There you go. How much does that cost? Tree fitty sugar pills.
We did take a bit of a diversion, right? We did the geometric, then we took kind of a diversion into objections, right? But while we were talking about trauma, a thought occurs, right? There's the physical damage. There's the psychic damage. Then, of course, there's emotional preference, right? Things I hate, things I like. Things I love, things I dislike. Things I find annoying, things I find boring, things I find mildly amusing, things I find exciting. Right? There's all these kind of preferences that can color our decision making. That modify what our free will allow us to do in the realm of possibility. All these limitations imposed internally. Right? And then there's one more. There's the external coding of what we pick up in the general society as a monad and then act upon ourselves. Not in the context of society, but individually. Ideology, right? All these things are rolling around in our heads, coloring every decision we make. So, when the liberals smugly say this is how a decision is made, my retort is, fuck you. It doesn't matter because there's a whole lot of things that go into making that next decision, that next step. Every time I decide to speak, I have a very limited window to come up with my next words because, of course, I'm not reading a teleprompter. I don't do scripts. Fuck scripts. And yet, even in that act right there, you're witnessing it live right now. Me clicking this hair tie is not as voluntary as it appears. That's a nervous OCD tick. I have very little control over that, although I'm fully aware of it, right? Is this right here free will? Because I'm describing it. I can tell you what it is. I know why it's happening. But as I think about it, even the speed, to some extent, I have trouble controlling. The muscles don't want to behave. The muscles are actually doing not what I want them to do. I don't really want to be doing this.
It goes back to also
See,
when you
that's how much
mentioned,
resistance I have.
if a
Not
person
much.
says, give me a hand with this, right? Like it's in the same space. Like a lot of the jobs I've had at large industrial facilities, you're not supposed to get the door for someone.
Yeah.
You're supposed to let the door slam in their face so that they can, scan their little badge and then see if the door opens or not.
Right.
But the number of people that can successfully like sublimate their urge to get the door somehow or to reach for it or something, there are so few people like that. You might see one out of every 100 guys that you know, have a door interaction with actually correctly let the shit slam in your face.
Yeah. You have a reflex, right? You have an ideology that says I should probably hold the door for this person. No matter how small that ideology is, it's ideological programming.
And you've done it physically, you've done it
Yeah.
10 trillion times.
Right. That act you assign, right? And they, you know, the libs would just write it off as mere dopamine rush. I'm a good person, I helped. Right? Everything is base selfishness, but it goes beyond selfishness and it goes beyond selflessness. It's the base ideology that causes you to have those thoughts that then causes you to act upon them because they fucking produce the chemical reaction. You're still in the driver's seat, even if it was something now that you can't control because it was a past decision that you made in the affirmative.
Yeah.
To do or not to do, and the dopamine rush kicked in. Right? Because
Yeah.
the dopamine rush can't occur until you've already done the thing once or twice to let your body know that dopamine should rush into me now. Please feed me. I'm a good boy.
Like I pull the lever to go into factory mode, which means that if you throw a box at me, I'm gonna catch it. I'm maybe gonna throw it at somebody else. I do willingly like go into that mode, but once I've pulled that lever, for the next 10, 12 hours, I'm gonna be part of a big thing. I'm gonna let go of some of that. Maybe I don't want to do this, you know?
Yeah. You're going to make the decision when that's on and when that's off. But once it's on, that's how you behave. When it's off, that's how you behave. It's the ideology that is internalized and codes those actions, right?
And it's an informed, selfish decision too. It's not like a liberal, like for that's the real difference, is that for someone who's doing it performatively, it is about, you know, looking or feeling a certain way. But when you get all the way down to the level of the guy who's about to throw the boxes for 10 hours or whatever, if he's doing it correctly, he's making an informed and selfish decision of the power of this group, of how much better it actually goes if you can be part of it, right? Like, that's grim, but I mean, that's what it is. I mean,
well, okay, let's start here, right? Let's start with just simply holding the door. What do the libs say? What do the libs say is the solution? I'm talking everybody from like the fucking Hillary Clinton libs to the Milton Friedman pedophiles. What do they
there's
say?
probably rules, right? They've probably changed over the last few years,
Could
right?
free will be a sublime object of ideology? Possibly. Maybe that's an aspirational goal. Maybe that is.
Yeah.
That's quite possible. I have not. As you can see, this is the amount of work I've done on it. I'm kind of regurgitating what I've already written down. So, you know, it's a bit from memory because I don't like to use a script and I don't like to use notes. I like to do this freehand.
I mean,
that is an affirming exercise for my learning process.
But you could spin up a cult like that with real wheels on it, right?
Yeah.
You could go around America right now today, and you could tell everybody, yo, you ain't got free will. And they're like, what? And you're like, yeah, you don't. Listen, I'll tell you how to get free will. You could spin up a cult like that.
If that's your barrier for a cult, I can spin up a cult about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Well, we could.
Well,
I mean,
you should, and we should.
At this point, they just believe any old thing. You don't even have
Yeah, it'd be easy.
All you
But
gotta
I
do
mean,
is blame the
they're
Democrats
They're
first.
putting horse dewormer in their bodies right now. Like, you can
But-
get them to do
Well,
just
I
about
mean, it's
anything.
not
They're
all of
already
them are putting
crimes.
horse dewormer.
Oh,
They're
get
using the form.
there.
Some of them are
This would
using
be
the
one of
form
those-
that's prescribed for humans, but I mean, they're using the problem is they're using a drug used to treat physical, real parasites to treat a virus, which is like trying to fix your car by turning on your TV.
Yeah.
You won't fix the car problem. You'll fix the problem of your TV being off. It's unrelated. You know, it's irrelevant if you use the horse dose or the human dose. Ultimately, if you don't have the parasites in your intestines and you have the COVID in your lungs, the problem there is apples and oranges, my friend. It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know, they like to play up the horse dewormer like the livestock angle because these people are obsessed with sheeple, and that part is fine.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like the real problem with the ivermectin is you don't use fucking penicillin to cure cancer. You know,
Try to hit a bumblebee with a fucking catapult.
no,
It's
most
not-
people don't go around there like when they're building a house or they're fixing up their house. They don't use a shovel most often, unless the shovel is appropriate
No.
for the very specific problem they have. They don't hammer nails with a shovel. Normal people don't do that. The number of cases where you would do that are extremely low as to be corner cases, right? That's not a standard thing, and that's the problem here is, you know, and listen, I will say this on the COVID shit. If the alternative treatment worked, if ivermectin actually worked, yeah, the difference is orange is an apple-flavored ivermectin. Yeah. Here's the thing. If ivermectin fucking worked against all odds, yeah, fuck it, take it. You should.
That'd be
You
a
have
big
COVID,
deal.
and we have proof that ivermectin worked. The problem is that proof doesn't exist because it doesn't fucking work.
Yeah.
So stop.
People are attributing a lot of power to like whatever force.
If you OD on horse dewormer, you won't have COVID anymore. It cured the COVID.
Well, in a certain sense,
COVID
that's
does
true.
die. When the host dies, the COVID does die.
Yeah. Unless
Kills 100% of COVID.
Unless in the process, the object dying, the human being dying through their death gas spreads COVID to people. In which case,
yeah, I guess you're right. That's a wily fucker, that COVID.
Yeah,
COVID.
because it's a
That
respiratory
wily
illness
fucking
in your
COVID.
lungs, it's not a parasite in your intestinal tract.
The COVID-19, he's a wily fucker.
Yeah.
Even as you're dying, he can infect. That's the doctor version. You already know.
Right.
That's the doctor version of
Yeah,
it.
we got it. That's what we could have had. We could have had that.
In the
as your fucking
multiverse where
problem.
he's a doctor, he lives to cure COVID.
Yeah. Could be. That could have happened.
I'm just gonna
We're
let
not
that
there.
horrible vision. I'm just gonna let that
I bet-
horrible vision sink into your mind.
An
I bet
Aussie
House
achieving
happens
something.
somewhere.
I bet House is the kind of asshole doctor that's anti-vax.
Yes. You should take the
Not because-
ivermectin.
Not because he doesn't
I'm
think it works, he
on
knows it works,
Vicodin.
but because he wants to kill off the people who wouldn't take it.
Yeah, Dr. House. Dr. Gregory House, could you stop taking Vicodin while you're trying to treat my respiratory infection? No, I don't think I can.
Oi, mate. I mean, no, I don't.
Well, that's the right fucker, isn't it? That COVID you got there. That would be if he did his... Yeah, he would have to be a chav.
This should have been an episode where he just talked normal. So great.
Yeah. Well, I think he did his own accent one time to make fun of the Brits, but it's like a giant in-joke, and it's like, all right, buddy, the shark has been jumped.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so anyway, so geometric issues. We have the 4 types of mental issues that could stop us from having free will. Now we should try to resolve them at some point to get some conception of free will that isn't simply a divine actor, a gift from the divine, right? That isn't just base physics, that's beyond materialism in the crudest and most vulgar sense, scientism. And still leaves us room to work with to actually formulate a new ideology and understanding of it. So, what can we say so far? Within the bodily framework we have a certain sphere of influence and a certain set of decisions we can make at any given moment. Right? Does that sound reasonable so far?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm not gonna lie, you lost me entirely. I'm probably just gonna hop off.
Yeah.
If you need to go, go. I know, like I said, there's nothing amusing tonight for me, except my terrible drawings, which I've now given
Well.
up on.
See you guys later.
Peace out, Girl Scout,
Jeez.
Take it easy.
Gangsta Scout, Commie Scout. I should have said Commie Scout. God damn it. See? Free will in action. Free will in action and free will in action. Critical difference. That space means a lot. Sometimes the words you choose means a lot, and sometimes the spaces you put in between words means a whole hell of a lot. Fun facts from metaphysician Dan Cohen. Anywho, all right. So, again, we have a body, a subject with a certain framework, mentally and physically, that has the capacity to make decisions and turn those decisions into action within a certain sphere of influence, right? And so far, we could say that ability to make decisions, no matter how brief, no matter the effects afterwards, because remember, if you're opening the door for someone, your brain may subconsciously inject the dopamine. I did a good thing, right? It also might not. You might not view that as something worthy of a dopamine rush. There's a whole lot of assumption in that you're chemically dependent and chemically altering your own brain. You could just hold the door open. That's what most normal people would view that as. In which case it's a subjective obligation based on a cultural taboo, which is a different subsect of ideology, versus selfish gratification. And it's still not altruism, nor is it selfishness. It is obligation, right? So the capacity to meet obligations, to act selfishly, or act selflessly within our decision-making and physical capacities, there is the window in which free will exists. The ability to exercise our will on the world. But that's not the only thing, right? Because if we start adding other people into a relationship, things start getting fucking tricky. I think I can start that now, right? Let's start the monads problems when the second monad shows up. Geographically speaking, free will problems erode over distance, right? What I'm doing right now, this dumb little finger click, affects all of you because there's some machine narrowing that distance. You can find it annoying. You can find it reassuring that I too have my own quirks and problems and shit, right? I don't know how you interpret it. You're going to interpret it differently than somebody else too. But over a sufficient distance, what I do here on this podcast, not being observed by somebody in China, by somebody in Russia, by somebody in Poland, by somebody in Mali, Nigeria, by somebody else in Pennsylvania. Without that observation, without that conflict of spheres of influence, the problem erodes away by sheer distance. Depending on what my decisions are as a monad and what their decisions are in a monad. Let's say I just got up right now and got a drink. I would affect all of you because you're all within my sphere of influence and vice versa. You're within, I'm within yours, right? But the person at the house next to me really isn't impacted by that decision. It means nothing to them. And that's a very small geographic distance, whereas theoretically, on a lot of decisions I could do are going to act upon the person next to me and a person a couple houses down. But the relative geometric condition, the relative geographic condition, right? The distance involved in the act of me getting up and getting a drink probably ain't going to change shit. It means absolutely, oh, I hit my mic. It means absolutely fucking nothing. Likewise, their decision to get a drink does not act upon my sphere of influence at all. It means nothing. Nothing changes, right? If both of us get a drink at the same time, neither of us get a drink, or one of us gets a drink, and all those potential outcomes, even if we decide to get drinks for everybody in the house, or nobody in the house, but some small decisions can cause huge disasters. That's a good observation, isn't it? Because what if I cut my gas line and light it on fire right now? What if I just leave the camera, cut open my gas line, and light a fire? What's going to happen? There's going to be a fire. It's going to be an explosion. A very small decision, the act of cutting, causes a fire, or worse, an explosion. And now my neighbors are definitely fucking affected. They're in my sphere of influence, aren't they? And we can obviously get bigger, right? What if I go to the gun store and buy a gun? And then what if I just decide to climb up a clock tower in the middle of a busy city? And what if I load that gun? That's just a series of very small decisions, isn't it? In reality, it's a series of very small decisions. I decided to make a purchase. That's a pretty common decision. I decided to walk up something.
We covered this briefly last week as well.
Yeah. Did we?
Where, where people write it off as intrusive thoughts, but we theorized that possibly it was actually just sort of a reassertion of free will. Sort of just an inner contemplation of like, I could do some crazy shit, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we did briefly hit this last week.
Right? Well, what if I did? Right? What did I do? I made a series of three small decisions, right? And what's the fourth small decision? I take aim. People aim guns all the time. They have no bad consequences at all whatsoever. God knows right now, Jank is aiming his gun at something to sight it.
Yeah.
He is just staring down a gun.
I've been your neighbor for years, you know.
Yeah. He is just staring at something through the barrel, through the sight of a gun, sighting it. That's a very small decision, but if I make that small decision after making those other small decisions, and I sight them on a person, I still haven't done anything, have I? I've still exercised my free will in such a way that those decisions at that point haven't affected anybody.
This one's definitely getting demonetized.
Oh, if you were worried about monetization, it's important to understand this shit. They don't want you to understand this shit because they don't want you understanding free will. Remember, their goal is precisely to figure out what free will is before you and subvert it. They still haven't, but that's what the tech giants want because they want to manipulate free will, and they believe they are God and can do so, and I firmly believe that, right? So we got to beat them with a punch.
Yeah.
So, all those decisions. Now, what's the next small decision that's going to have a huge fucking impact to a lot of people, right? What's the next logical one? We all know what it is.
Yeah.
And then we've made a very dark decision. A very small decision. In the macro scale of the universe, it's incredibly tiny. Right? At the size of the fucking solar system, incredibly tiny. At the size of the fucking planet, incredibly tiny. Unless I pick the right target. Then suddenly, that very, very small decision in 1962 leaves a country without a ruling president and a ruling order in the middle of a prolonged global, potentially nuclear war. So a set of very small decisions, 4 tiny little decisions, right? 5 tiny decisions. Purchase a gun, climb a building. I use clock tower, but a book depository makes sense. Load the gun, aim it, and pull a trigger. 5 small decisions, very tiny decisions that
This little fucking slime just infringed the shit out of like everybody on the planet's free will.
right. Huge repercussions throughout time and space, mind you. With that little tiny set of decisions, those little decisions. And they are. If you believe the government story on it, Lee Harvey Oswald just made a set of tiny decisions to change the fucking world. You would say that's a pretty big fucking decision to do that to a president. But not really. Not once you break it down. Not with that set of steps. You know, if you look at Robert McNamara, the fucking architect of mass slaughter against the Japanese in World War II by the United States. All he did was read a chart. If we fly these planes, we come off with a kill ratio of 20,000 to 1. We lose one person for every 20,000 of theirs. All we have to do is then load up a plane with fuel, load some bombs on it, fly it over a Japanese city, and hit release. The machine does the work at that point, right? The human doesn't do the work. The human's not throwing the bombs. The human's not riding the bomb down to target it.
Yeah. Our very fine German engineered machine will do the work of dividing the atoms.
It'll do the work. Well, I'm not even talking about the nukes. I'm talking about the fucking firebombing.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Just that alone. In fact, he
Dresden
argued
in
against
Germany
the
was
nukes.
incredible too.
In fact, he argued against the nukes on one very simple decision, one very easily readable decision. The price of dropping one nuke was far more expensive than dropping the firebombs. He argued against it because of the cost. He wouldn't have done it because it was too expensive to launch that nuclear weapon on Japan.
Hysterical.
And yet somebody else with their free will made a decision that affects the entire world.
No, we should go ahead
Small
and
fucking
show
decision.
everybody. We should go ahead and show everybody that we have become death.
Yeah. But ultimately, that's just a series of fucking decisions, isn't it? It's just a series of fucking enactments of free will that affect every fucking buddy in perpetuity. So it's not wrong to say small decisions. Everything, when you boil it down to the micro level, is a small decision. It's a series of events made by an agent of free will, and then things happen, right? Cause, effect. Cause, effect.
And as you covered earlier, time doesn't even wipe it clean, because if you're born where that bomb went off 30 or 40 years later, you could be like the monad who doesn't have his little arms and legs.
Yeah. Depending on your geography to that decision, to the consequences of that decision, not even the decision itself, your proximity to the consequences of that decision can cause you to be born with a completely different body than you would have had you not been in proximity of that fucking decision's consequences.
Yeah.
The everlasting impact of that decision. So was your free will violated? If you were one of those poor kids who had to grow up in the wake of America's nuclear thirst. You can still live a life. You can still live a life, right? And what did we just accidentally trip into, right? We tripped into the right-wing argument against abortion.
Yeah. Yeah.
We accidentally tripped on our own dicks because if we conceive of their version of free will, if we allow the liberal notion of free will to rule the roost, oops. And it doesn't matter what anybody else did before you because you could still live.
And we know that they're not out here with us in this space to observe how complicated and interesting all of this is, because they've already pulled one or two of the ripcords. They've already pulled the Ayn Randian ripcord or the Bible ripcord, and they're already out of the room.
Think through the right-wing position for a moment, right? Every child ought to be born to have a life. That's their fundamental premise. So if that's the fundamental premise, the actions of others really don't matter. How that life was created is irrelevant. But if that's irrelevant, then the conditions that life is born into are also irrelevant. Which means all decisions heretofore are irrelevant. So if that child is born into a situation that it didn't ask for, it made no exercise of its own free will to say, yeah, I want to come out as one of the babies who has no fucking skin on it because the Americans wanted to drop a nuke on Japan. I want to be one of the babies with fucking tumors or missing limbs.
It's the same guy that tells his female friend or family member not to get an abortion and then goes and says, no, drop the bomb. Show these motherfuckers we are become death.
Right.
Like, it's the same guy.
Right-wingers don't believe in consequences. That is heavy. Do you remember how I talked about earlier that there are fundamental divides in theory? Right? And I actually don't mean like hypothetically. I mean, there's actual fucking divides in how people think. The difference between a right-wing stance and a left-wing stance is ultimately, it's not reduced to all this other bullshit we talk about, right? And there are subset problems within the right and the left. But what's the unifying theme? What is the definitional theme? I propose it is whether or not you believe consequences matter. Because if you believe in a God where all things are going to be happening, that's absolutely true. Right-wingers never consider what happens next because it's not relevant to the decision in the secondary moment, right? Why do left-wingers? So what's the fundamental reasoning for abortion from a liberal, not a left, a liberal perspective specifically? The liberal. It's a woman's right to choose. What do they always toss out there? Well, sex has consequences. That's not what they mean. What they mean is the consequence of you having that baby has to be born specifically to suffer. Right? Because that's the decision you made.
Suffer.
And the suffering of your child is irrelevant.
Yeah.
So the consequence is it's going to live the life it was going to be born into regardless. And we presume abortions only happen in situations where the child would have a really shit existence, right? Which I think, given how many of us have had a shit existence or feel like we have, is simply not true. But they always spout off at the mouth with Sex has consequences. And then when you go, okay, but for dudes it doesn't, so like that's not a fair standard. What do they fall back on right after that? You know, if you use this logic, dudes don't get pregnant, so what does it fall back? You know, what's the next thing they jump to? Well, that's a human life. That's a human waiting to suffer and die. And interrupting that is fucking wrong because they don't believe in free will in the same sense that we do or we want to. Right? You're not here right now ultimately because we're such likable guys. Look at me. Look at this and tell me anything about this is like instantly likable. I got a Jewish problem going on in this region.
Hey, listen here. That's a human life, all right? But if he ever darkens my doorstep, castle doctrine. But still, that's a human life.
They do say personal responsibility, but they don't really believe it. That's another one of their goddamn lies because when you fight through the personal responsibility, well, the dude should have to pay for it. Nah, he shouldn't have to pay for it. You know, he should have to get married to her and shit like that. Nah, I don't think so. You know, personal responsibility gets thrown out literally in the next sentence, in the next negation. Right?
Yeah, because it's just what if she's mean or sneaky?
Yeah, what if she was mean? What if she got herself pregnant? Right? That's the next one. Which that doesn't belie. That doesn't have anything to do with personal responsibility. Why was your cum there? If she got herself pregnant, why was your cum in that condom for her to do that? Why were you jizzing on her toilet seat or a toilet seat that was close enough that she could scoop it up and cram it in her cooch? You know, again, there's no sense of personal responsibility because the logical questions, number one, frankly, don't get asked. I'll ask them. Fuck it. Why was your cum there? Why did you leave your cum irresponsibly around? Personal responsibility, right? But number two, they don't mean it. It's just a lie. It's just a rhetorical lie. That's why it doesn't really hold. But what does hold in people's hearts? That's a human life. Because their definition of life has nothing to do with quality. Quite the opposite. Lack of quality affirms their own existence. But then if they were to acknowledge there's a difference in quality, right? They breeze past that problem even though psychically they know.
Yeah.
They fucking know. They know there's a difference in quality of life. They know it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so fucking racist, right? You wouldn't have to look down on other races if you didn't think their lives were somehow inferior. So they know there's a quality of life problem in play automatically, right? But it's different. They hate consequences. They hate the idea of consequences. Criminal negligence, consequence, responsibility. These are things they're against. What they want is the emphatic, almost euphoric rush of decision making with zero regards to the consequence. We saw a whole government from the United States in 2000 operating on that premise. And we got ourselves into two wars we can't pay for. And technically speaking, we can absolutely pay for them and more, but we couldn't really afford them because there was no reason to fight those wars. Right? We had a bunch of lies to support them. We had a bunch of erratic decision-making around that. You know, you go to war with the army you got. Well, yeah, duh. You know, I can't, you know, in 2010, I can't summon Genghis Khan's Mongolian horde. And that was a pretty fucking good army by all, you know, all things considered, right?
From historic accounts.
Yeah, from historic accounts, pretty fucking effective.
Yeah.
I can't summon that army. I do have the army I have, whatever that really fucking means, because I don't own an army. Right? Ostensibly, I own a stake in a government that has an army, but that's a dubious distinction, right?
We should ask old Rummy to elaborate on what that means. Oh, that's right, we can't, because he's fucking dead.
That bitch is dead. Time got his ass.
Yeah.
That's satisfying, but it's not vindicating, because we didn't get to kill him.
Yeah, we got this...
In Minecraft.
In Minecraft, Perry.
In Minecraft.
We got those two fucking wars. We got several new layers of speculation and made-up financial products added on top of an already shaky economy.
Yeah. We got fucked. Rumsfeld, if he wasn't dead, I'd call for him and Fauci to be executed at the same trial for the same reason functionally.
They have to execute each other.
Hubris ought to be illegal. If you want to know what my standard is, there's a reason you would call me a filthy statist. for a communist state. Because hubris is a fucking crime, my friends.
Yeah.
Hubris is a fucking crime.
Oh, the guy that told us to do this, this ain't going good. Where's he at right now? Like, that's a situation that we'd like to see more of. What? No, is he partying? Are you telling me the guy that told us to do this is like enjoying a very high quality of life right now? Right now, today, presently, when the thing he told us to do is going like this. We're gonna go see him. You know, that's a thing we'd like to see more of.
Now, I'd like to say this. You can say that my indictment of the right is harsh and untrue. And to back it up, take for account somebody like Donald Rumsfeld, somebody like Dr. Fauci, and somebody like Hillary Clinton. All part of the same class, all with more or less the same aims, wishful
And
thinking,
AIDS.
I suppose, right? Same aims. Different decisions, merely based on tribe, the quality of those decisions are evaluated. And Fauci and Rumsfeld are great in the 80s. Rumsfeld's great in 2000. Hillary Clinton's always evil. And now Fauci is a monster. Because without regards to the consequences of those actions, on pure preference, on pure emotional preference, the exercise of free will boiled down to the ideological question of, are you on my side?
Yeah.
Of that yes-no question, irrefutable, fundamental yes-no question, are you on my side? And if that's how your thinking is formed, you're not regarding consequences. You can't. You know, Republicans have no problem criticizing a democratic government. And right-wingers in general have a lot of trouble criticizing a Republican government. Everything from your nice, allegedly acceptable for news freaks like Robbie Suave on the Hill now, you know, the guy who has admitted on a podcast to wanting to hang women for get abortions, to the most hardest right freaks who were critical that Trump was too owned by the Jews. That's a very small Venn diagram of people who are willing to criticize the Trump government in any meaningful capacity from the right.
Yeah.
But of course, there's a paradox there, isn't it? Because if they criticize him from the right, the only way they can do it is more to the right. So even then, you don't have a genuine criticism because the desire is for more cruelty, not less. And more human beings populated on the earth to exercise that cruelty thereupon. Consequences do not matter.
Yeah.
In as much as they do matter, they are tribally distincted upon. There is no distinction for morality. It's flavor. They have a Coke versus Pepsi analysis of evil, whereas Coke is good and Pepsi is evil, or vice versa. And that's about as far as their thinking on consequences go. They really don't fucking accept that notion.
That thing where if you back them into a corner about the consequences of a decision or about what personally informed their decision making, it's that thing where they start spinning you a yarn about how all of human civilization has been an endless series of conflicts between Cokes and Pepsis, and you always have to pick a side, and it's just good to take care of yourself and your family by picking the winning side, and this is a whole thing that you'll hear from all of your right-leaning friends, family, and acquaintances for all of the time that you live on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, reduce it to petty consumerism. Right? Take consequences, take responsibility out of the fucking equation, because those two things are inextricably linked. You can't have responsibility without consequences, and you can't take responsibility unless you recognize the possibility of consequences of action. And, disturbingly, look at Fauci. Man's responsible for an awful lot of fucking deaths with his wishy-washy lying, refuses to take responsibility for that lying. It's played down, and the worst offense I find is for the greater good. Now, we got a question from chat. Would you say that tech or power amplifies free will? Well, consider the monad again. How I would answer it and how you would answer it might be different, so I want you to consider this, right? The monad, the human subject, the individual, stands on this earth. There is a vertical height of 2,000 feet in front of him. Doesn't really matter what the number is. It just has to be big enough that it's not an arbitrary decision, right? 1 foot isn't good enough. 50 feet is probably fine. I'm going to say 2,000 to really illustrate it, right? Sheer vertical wall. Sheer. Can't be climbed by hands. Cannot. However, our monad has a grappling gun that will range and parabolically arc at 2,002 feet, land on the top of this sheer structure, and strike upon a rock that would allow the monad to climb it, aided by technology. Does that increase the sphere of influence, and does that increase free will? You'd say yes, chat? You'd say yes? If you want me to name you, I can name you, but you would say yes.
We've established that all this guy can actually really do of his own free will is manipulate small objects in his immediate sphere of influence with his appendages, if he has appendages.
Can
So
he? Well, on
if
his
we're
own
trying
version,
to,
yes.
if we're trying to buff him out somehow, if we're trying to
Yes.
amplify his abilities, the
Okay.
best thing we could do is give him a little rack of buttons like right in front of him to like push really fast and like round up a bunch of other monads and get them in cults and shit.
Right. Yeah, chat, here's the thing.
monadic cult.
Yeah,
You and
get
I
them in
would
cults
readily
real
agree.
quick.
You and I would readily agree that through technology, devoid of other analysis or devoid of other purposes, yes, it will enhance free will. The best illustration of that was not the rock wall. The real trick was you were able to ask me that question. You're not sitting next to me. The technology gave you the ability to extend your sphere of influence to ask that question and demand of me an answer. And likewise, my sphere of influence put upon you to then answer another question, right? We were both able to manipulate each other through the aid of technology, through whatever distance this is. I don't know how far it is. Doesn't matter. Except when it does, right? Because what if I send a message? What if you're on Neptune and I'm here, or you're here and I'm on Neptune? We want to send a message to each other. Over the course of time, that message will reach Neptune if we aim it right, right? But the problem is that message will take years to reach. And we have a chronological problem again, don't we? Distance in the immediate can be overcome. Hell, it can affect an awful lot of things from a very small decision. We talked about the JFK shooting, right? But over a very, very wide distance, the problem reappears. So at a close range, the problem is non-existent. With technology, that sphere can be increased, but at a certain point, it doesn't matter because, again, distance reasserts itself as a problem. So technology can only overcome, to the extent, the free will problem of the geographic limit as to what it will allow. If that makes any sense, right? The threshold of free will then is somewhat dependent on our technology to enhance our sphere of influence. That's the better way to phrase that. It's getting late where I'm at. It's almost midnight and I'm starting to get a little tired.
Fuck, is it?
Yeah.
And a lot of people pick on Dave Rubin for phrases like this, right? And this is the one thing I don't pick on Dave Rubin for. Well, I gotta asterisk that, right? Because I pick on him too, but for a different reason, right? So a lot of people
we don't
pick
need
on,
excuses to pick on Dave Rubin.
well, there's a million good excuses to pick on Dave Rubin. Limited to the laws of physics. Yeah. There's a material problem, right? There's a vulgar material problem. Physics only goes so far for us. Can we influence what's beyond the universe? That's a real question, right? Let's say we can influence the entire universe in a reasonable amount of time, such that it is chronologically relevant, what I do here as to the edge of the universe. What's beyond the universe, right? The laws of physics stop, we presume, beyond the universe, right? Whatever's beyond it, if there is anything, if we're not just talking about a pure nothingness, right? Or if there even can be. What if the universe actually does encompass all of reality, all of possible reality? And there isn't, you can't even conceive of anything beyond it because there is purely nothing beyond it. It is the limit. It is the barrier, right? It's not a barrier to be crossed and entered into and to see what's there, but it's a hard barrier in the sense that there's nothing. Like there can't be anything beyond it. The universe truly is an infinite expanse, right? That the matter at the Big Bang was enough, that there was enough to create an infinite universe, right? And essentially an infinite amount of matter, right?
Yeah.
The Kabbalah manifold that is the universe.
Yeah.
Yes. God, some of this stuff gets real abstract and gets real hard to talk about.
Well, I mean, like in one lifetime, you could create like a really solid cult, right?
Okay.
In one
enough with the
lifetime.
cult.
No, it's the most powerful tool, man. It's the greatest tool of the monad, right?
Yeah.
You could create a most powerful cult that was really solid, and they
again-
were really going to pass it down.
the next time we do this, we will touch on the monad as it relates to other people.
That's true. He's still by himself in the drawing.
Essentially, our monad is still just by himself with all this shit, right? But to talk about Dave Rubin for just a second, he's totally non sequitur. But a lot of people picking him when he says, I've been taking in a lot of big ideas. It's really hard. If you've actually done intellectual work and you're not just regurgitating or had it written for you, or you pre-wrote it so that when you execute the thing, it's a lot easier because you did the legwork, right? And if you don't acknowledge that legwork, this shit is really easy. Dave and I agree on the impromptu nature of thinking. Dave's just quantitatively bad at thinking.
Yeah.
So his idea of a big idea is something like anything times 0 is 0. Anything times 1 is just a reflection of itself because it is a single unit quantity, right?
Some kind of contrarian rag on the government that like everybody's thought of for 200 years, but he thinks he's the first person to think of it or whatever.
Not even a good one. What's his recent one? He fucked up Occam's razor and treated it like Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
I saw that rolling around on Twitter. Like, he's dumb. Like, quantifiably stupid, because a big idea to him is like Occam's razor is not Murphy's Law. They're two separate thought concepts, and they describe two separate things. Like, that's like mind-blowing to him, and he can't quite reason it out to regurgitate it, right? So when he does it impromptu, he's not a bright guy. That pisses off anarchists a lot who say nobody can be dumb. I submit to you Dave Rubin and allow you to discuss why you're wrong.
I know for a fact that people can be dumb.
But when you're doing any kind of intellectual work, like you're doing right now by listening and participating, right? You're doing this too. You're reasoning. It does get tiresome. And I've now been doing this for 2 hours and 15 minutes at midnight after a full day of work where I had to do other thought work. So I apologize. I'm getting a little erratic.
No, you're
and
good.
The boys love me right now.
Yeah, you're good. You've been doing this so hard that YouTube is now recommending that after this live stream, I watch best ending ever, Free Willy.
That's exactly what I wanted. After this, go to the whale clip. You'll feel better.
Watch him jump into the soup of microplastics.
But yeah, I think we're going to revisit this over the next couple of weeks because I want to keep hammering at it. Because like I said, if we can keep, as long as we remember to keep going beyond the deterministic and predeterministic fucking outcomes. The observer produces the outcome, or just the outcome is the outcome, right? As we breeze through those two fucking concepts and make sure to know when we're branching off to them and then going back and starting over, right? I think we can cover a lot of ground because, like I said, I do want to cover free will, rights, and consent. I want to cover it properly. And we've hit on those topics before. We've argued about what are rights. And I think we want to start actually arriving at through free will and defining those rights rather than, like the Constitution offers a religious option, frankly, right? It offers the idea that are endowed by your creator. Well, is that the fucking womb you're created in? Is it literally by man, or is it by a divinity, right? They mean divinity, but you can just as reasonably argue that it's because you were born of a womb.
Yeah.
Right?
If we're
Doesn't
supposed
matter
to
which way
use
you
the
came out of
words
that womb.
thing.
You gestated in that womb, right?
Yeah.
And we can ignore the pure random, right? We can ignore the pure random outcome where observation does it, the pure physics, the vulgar materialist outcome.
The nihilistic shit.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Again, I invite nihilists to not look down when they zip up their zipper and see how that goes, because eventually you're going to get your dick caught. And even if that decision is arbitrary, it's just whether or not you move your head downwards ultimately while you're moving your hand upwards, right? It might be an arbitrary decision, but I guarantee you, once you start bleeding from your dick, it's going to become real fucking pertinent. It's going to go really quickly from arbitrary to meaningful. Maybe next time we should explore those a little bit more as we go down this. What actually does arbitrary mean and what does meaningful mean? That might be a good way to start the next one.
That feels valuable.
Yeah.
It does, doesn't it? Like, because we use these words all the time, and they really, like, what?
We don't have a good definition of them.
I got Flipper in my recommendations thanks to free will. Does historical materialism say much about free will? Yeah, but we're nowhere near that.
Thank God.
It has implications. It has some implications. If the idea, real briefly, right? If the idea is that class conflict is the motivator of history, then there's an argument to be made in a very, frankly, babyish way that because those contradictions are built into the new society at the birth from the old society, and that the revolution is born into it. If you take that very, very literally, you have a deterministic view of history. You're reduced back to crude physics. But if you actually think about it, right, why did capitalism not explode in the 1300s? Why did it take so long? Because it would seem the option of being able to own your own land and participate in a society and not be birthed to the land would be so appealing that that idea would have come up earlier and sprouted earlier. And it had to take hold, and it had to take meaningful hold, and it had to accrue power, it had to take hold in the right people, and it had to take hold in the right combination of people. And it took time to work on it, right? Because if it was so fucking overwhelming prima facie, the serfs, the peasants, and the would-be bourgeoisie would have already done that because they all stand to benefit as compared to the feudal relationship. Things are objectively better in the mind of the communist and the mind of the bourgeoisie as compared to feudalism. That's not, that's a premise, right?
Yeah,
that's a premise we
That's
hold.
universally agreed, I would say.
Right. Very few people, except for monarchists, would disagree. And fascists. Fascists really...
Fascists would definitely disagree.
Yeah, they would definitely disagree, right?
But they're just blatantly wrong, and we know that.
And if feudalism was so overwhelmingly powerful as compared to the Roman system, the patronage systems of Rome, why didn't it take hold faster? Why didn't crazy people anoint themselves divinely born, have a shit ton of people agree to hand them all their stuff, and take over the joint faster? Why was that a gradual decaying process that ended in violence? Why wasn't that just done? Why didn't they just go, yeah, fuck Julius Caesar, fuck him, he's a dumbass, fuck his model, we're doing this thing, and fuck him. Why don't people just do that, right? And it's part of that problem, right? People are going to make their own decisions within these contexts, and it does take a bit of luck, which is not predeterminism or determinism. That's pure random happenstance. But it also takes work. It also, the class conflicts that arise take work because the society has to be built. The contradictions have to be created. The contradictions have to be laid bare. Somebody has to do the thought work and say, this is what's happening and it's bad because of this. Those arguments have to be won to such degree that people don't want to do it anymore. That has to win over some people on both sides. That negotiation has to occur, right? What we would call class traders on either side. They have to be given the opportunity to deflect and be those traders. And then once everything that can be negotiated through this nonviolent process occurs, the violence starts. And we enter the revolutionary period, right? And if it's deterministic, every time there's a revolution, bam, we're going to get it, right? We're going to get the outcome of the new. That's not what happens. What ends up generally happening for most of the time is that the new erodes some of the old. And then the revolution is quashed because there's a strong enough core. But now we've eroded at it. So then this process renegotiates itself and happens again. So if you were to look at it as purely a procedural thing, yeah, it's deterministic. Eventually this will happen to everything, right? Erosion occurs. If you play Genshin Impact, that's a big theme in the Earth, the Geo place, right? Erosion. Erosion occurs. All things erode over time. But that actual, that's that problem of macro versus micro. It's very easy to say, looking back at the past, we were always destined to get capitalism, right? We were always destined to be here. And because of the erosion process, eventually we'll be destined to move beyond capitalism. That's true, but it's not very meaningful, right? Because I can say if I leave a glass of hot water outside, eventually it's just going to evaporate, right? We're going to have essentially erosion. It's going to evaporate, go into the atmosphere, because that's what water does. Right, but that moment-to-moment negotiation is determined by actual actors and actual action and reaction from the reactionary force. See why we use those terms? And eventually, yes, that will occur, but what is actually the specific determinant is unknown, right? The free will imposes that upon it. All Lenin had to do was make a couple decisions different. He didn't have to get on that fucking train, did he? That's luck. That's literally just luck and happenstance that he got on that fucking train. If he hadn't gotten on that train, it's hard to argue that it would have turned out the same way, right? We certainly could say at the very least the Soviets might have won, and if they had, Lenin wouldn't have been a leader because he wasn't there. But we don't actually know any of that, right? Because of the actions Lenin took, we live in the consequence of those actions. The colonies could have opted not to revolt. They could have just said, nah, fuck it, we like England. We prefer to be rich aristocrats. They could have opted for that. And comically enough, instead of being greedy and being like, we want it all. It's ours, motherfucker. We live here, you live there. Get the fuck out, right? That could have happened too. In the French situation, the French Revolution, the peasants and the petty bourgeois could have been like, yeah, fuck it, we want land reforms. They could have just stopped there when they got told no. They said, fuck it. Enough of them could have said fuck it as to blow the fucking steam out of the revolution. God knows that happens here all the time.
Yeah, we'll be lucky to get whatever we can get, and we need to back off.
Listen, we got something. Fuck it. You know. It's sheer. It is honestly sheer luck and happenstance. Think of this. Think of the Capitol. I hate to use the term insurrection, right? Think of the pro-Trump Capitol riot. So much small decisions are overlooked when discussing history, and maybe free will hides in there. That's what I tend to think. Whatever free will means, and I think I'm starting to sculpt the definition, but when we introduce another person, that may fuck it up. I don't know yet. I'm honestly doing this work for real in front of you. You know, I write some things, but I'm regurgitating it, right? And some of the shit I didn't write down. All I wrote was the monad and the geometric problems. I didn't really go beyond there. Because I needed to think about a basis to even begin, I had some kind of a frame of reference. But a lot of this shit was live. Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of those small decisions, because remember, they look big in the grand scheme of things afterwards, right? Karl Marx wrote a fucking book. If Karl Marx hadn't written that fucking book, Karl Marx wouldn't have written another fucking book. Yeah, so the Trump field trip, I like that. I like that one, right? Those people promised gung-ho, bloody violence against the sitting government for another part of the sitting government to homogenize the sitting government in one part of the sitting government's favor. So far, not quite enough to call an insurrection. You would have to have some sort of alternative motive, right?
Yeah.
I don't really like the word coup here because, again, it's Trump's government. He's the executive head. Hard to say it's a coup. You can say purge. I like purge for this.
Yeah.
Trump tried to enact a purge of the government to only favorable elements.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a description the journalists won't give you because it reminds you of the movies, but that's what he did. Right? So Trump tried to purge the government by using his supporters as the machine.
It's true. It's true. Everything that you saw about it was sort of framed as if they were out of power, but they were in power until January.
Until weeks later.
Yeah.
So it's his government.
Yeah.
It's not a coup. It's not an insurrection. It's a purge. They were trying to purge the undesirable elements from the government to homogenize the government. Purge is the word, my friend. And in that scenario, right, those people had the option of doing it or not. They chose to do, right? Small decision, act or not. Do I yell at the cops or not? Do I run at the cops or not? Do I try to jump through this glass window or not? Do I try to hunt down the vice president to kill him or not? But when they got in there, just like with the left, mind you, they didn't know what to do with themselves because they didn't think they'd get as far as they did, and they were fucked. They couldn't think any farther.
And I've said this about the lady that actually gets to the front many times, and I'll say it again since we're on the topic of the free will. I feel like that a lot of the meat of this, when you see people either tearing her up or praising her or whatever, like how much a part of what we were talking about earlier, this automatic mechanical kind of thing, is it to be in a crowd like that when you just sort of find yourself at the front, you realize you're at the tip of the spear, you realize that everybody around you is some kind of like Pepe the Frog cartoon crying pussy and isn't going to do it, and you feel like maybe it's you, right? Because she certainly did, right?
Yeah.
You can look at this is a person, you can look at their feed from before they did this, where they're just posting dumb dog pictures and they're like, I'm getting on a plane with all my friends, we're going to go kick some ass in Washington. But she definitely didn't post and I'm going to run to the front of the crowd and get shot.
Yeah.
Right?
That was
Like,
not in her head that was going to happen. Now,
no.
a word on that. If you believe in a cause strongly enough, the minor consequence of the individual death is irrelevant, because if you think you're really going to change the world with this act, in her case, the ideology tells her that if I take this action, it is irrelevant if I live or die, because as a consequence of taking this action, right, I'm going to enable others to succeed. Selflessness. That's the shit people can't fathom. When she barrels at that cop, knowing full well that's going to cause him to discharge his weapon, which is going to cause those rioters to try to fucking fuck up that cop.
Yeah.
That is a selfless act. It's a monstrous selfless act because we sit on the outside of it and don't really want right-wingers executing purges in the government to make the country more right-wing and draconian. But from their perspective, what she did is the actions of a selfless martyr. And that's something you have to wrap your fucking head around, because the ideology told her, I've got to be willing to throw my life at this. They're coming for me. It's do or die now, motherfucker.
Yeah, Sebastian Gorka, all these guys, if she was listening to them and watching them, it was, you know, a background radiation thing of, they're coming to take your picking up trucks and your hammed burgers, you know, just this whole, you know, it's us versus them. It's Coke versus Pepsi.
That produces a conflict that has to be resolved. And the question there, of course, lies, was she acting of her own free will? Right? That's a hard question to answer. It depends how you look at it.
It's incredibly fucking heavy in that example because it's so ridiculous that it's her. That it's one of the most, like, normie ass, like, probably with a life, not a life of living out in Arizona, being a chud, fucking posting dog pictures and shit. It's a good little life, you know?
Yeah.
It's that much more crazy to throw it away than the Pepe right behind her, who has done nothing but post about this event for the last 2 years and never leaves his fucking basement. It's crazy that she was in front of him, but she was.
Well, here's what I want you to consider in that problem. And I'm gonna leave you on this to actually chew over it. I want an answer tonight. I want to chew it over as we end the show tonight. If we make the statement that Ashley Babbitt, as an adult human with a body of her own, made a decision of her own free will, right? If we make that assertion, we have to accept the idea that when our enemies make decisions, they are not baby-brained morons. They are analyzing a set of data and coming to a different conclusion than us. They are fundamentally different than us. Likewise, if we say that she was so ideologically ingrained and so coerced into action, are you certain that your criticism is your own free will then? Because if all those actions, those dramatic actions, her selfless act to the MAGA crowd to try to enable MAGA victory in the purge was entirely a fucking mind control op, then are your political opinions even your own? And that's a pretty fucking hard question to answer, isn't it? That's a pretty hard duality because we have two problems that arise. If the opponent has free will and can act as an adult, then they really are just our enemy, and liberalism doesn't work anymore. But that would imply that homogeneity of thought is superior to diversity of thought, at least at some degree. At some point, all thought has to be homogeneous one way, right? And that can be a hard pill to swallow. Because that means those differences in political thought may not be as dramatically as important as we once thought. If you can't meet the binary check, then really anything else is irrelevant.
Makes it hard to value individualism and to go around talking about your freedom all the time.
Yeah, but if those actions are from an adult body but not of an adult's own volition, that means your criticism thereof, or your rejection to criticize, or your approval of those actions, they're all fucking irrelevant. And you land in a deterministic solution about free will. Because if that's not a free will action, the decision to sacrifice oneself for what they perceive as the greater good, if you can't even do that, what can you do of your own volition? And worse, the masters who want you to do that, what are they motivated by that's violating their free will to make you do that? Pure determinism, right? We're locked in. There is no free will then. But again, if we accept the former, at some point we're going to reach a point that we can't negotiate through argumentation anymore, and violence is the only answer. And that's a really fucking tough pill to swallow, because violence requires a hell of a lot of action, hell of a lot of small decisions, doesn't it? Added to a whole lot of consequences for a whole hell of a lot of people. And if there's one thing I can say about us leftists right now, is we lack the discipline and responsibility to be making those decisions. And that's kind of painful to think about. That hits you right in the feels. The stomach churns a little at it. All right, this is Sons of Tree here. All right. Boys did good tonight. Not too many diversions. Chat, you've been awesome, and I love you.
Thanks, America.
I'm going to repost the Discord again if you want to join in, because sometimes we post funny stuff and sometimes we have serious talks. And once in a I might start leaving the headset in. Would a Nietzschean critique of free will and political opinion have use for the left? I'll tell you what. We'll see you next week, and we'll go ahead and mull that over together.
Yeah.
We'll take a stab at it. I'll do my best. I'm not an expert on Nietzsche, but I know a thing or two. I'm going to table that question. I'm actually going to throw that in Discord right now. Hold on. I'm not ending the show till I do it, because I want you to hear the confirmation. That's why you should join the Discord, which I'll have up on my Twitter again. I can't wait to hear John weigh on this too. Oh, I'm getting the Hangout page. I'm going to drop it in chat if you're still in chat. Because I don't know Twitch names versus Twitter names, so you could be like, yeah, I'm already there. Now you're seeing production work. This is where it gets boring. How the fuck do I get a fucking invite? I'm in the Hangout. Get the fucking link. Boom. It's copied. I'm going to drop it in chat now. It's going to be on YouTube for fucking ever, kids. I'm doing it. I swear to God, I'm doing it. I'm just stupid. Alright. On some things, I'm just dumber than hell. Love you all. Be safe.
Hey, guys. Be safe.